Chapter 1400. Seeing Duan Ling Tian and the other two enter the canyon, two middle-aged men in silver armor followed them in. The others snapped back to their senses. With the 36 guardians protecting him in the dark, he's safe. At this moment they no longer had any concerns. Umph. A cold gleam flashed in Zheng Jian's eyes as he flew into the canyon as well. He thought to himself, Duan Lingan, you're lucky. He knew that with the 36 guardians in the dark, it was impossible for him to kill Duan Ling Tian during the test. After Zheng Jian entered, a middle-aged man in silver armor followed him as well. After knowing that there was no danger, the others entered the canyon one after another. After Duan Ling Tian entered the canyon, he lifted his head and looked around. He noticed that the canyon was surrounded by cliffs. It was almost impossible to climb out without being able to fly. In such an environment, with the flight-prohibiting formation, it's impossible for those bandits to escape. At this moment, Duan Ling Tian finally understood why there were no guards in the other parts of the canyon. They were not worried that the bandits would escape. There was only one exit in the entire canyon, and it was personally guarded by a few of the 36 guardians. The bandits did not dare to barge in at all. Moreover, with the addition of the city governor of Mound Hill City and the leader of the 36 guardians, the heavenly leader guardian, the entire canyon was like an iron bucket that was airtight. The group of bandits had completely become Duan Ling Tian and the others' prey. Of course, whether they could kill the prey depended on whether the hunters had the ability to do so. This canyon doesn't look big from the outside, but it's not small when we're inside. Duan Ling Tian, Guoli and Zhu Lang shuttled through the forest. He mumbled, the canyon is covered with trees, so those bandits might have found a place to hide. I'm afraid it'll take a lot of effort to find them. Let's take turns to investigate with our spiritual energy. Guoli suggested. Investigate with our spiritual energy? Duan Ling Tian's eyes lit up when he heard Guoli's suggestion. He seemed to have thought of something, but he rejected Guoli's suggestion. There's no need for that. There's no need for that. Duan Ling Tian's words stunned Guoli and Zhu Lang. Then they noticed that Duan Ling Tian had slowed down and stopped. Seeing this, they all stopped as well. While they were still in a daze, they saw Duan Ling Tian leaping onto a big tree at the side. At the same time, he called out to them, Guoli, Zhu Lang, come up here. Guoli and Zhu Lang followed suit. The higher you stand, the further you can see. Duan Ling Tian, that's a good idea. Zhu Lang smiled. Although we can see quite far by moving through the trees in the valley, if the bandits hide in the forest on the ground and hide under the trees, it'll be extremely difficult for us to discover them. Guoli said with a frown. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. However, just as she finished speaking, she realized that Duan Ling Tian had already moved. He leaped onto another tree and shuttled through the treetops like an agile monkey. Let's follow them. Zhu Lang said and followed him. When Guoli saw this, she could only smile wryly and followed him. She suspected that Duan Ling Tian did not hear what she said at all. In fact, Duan Ling Tian did not hear what Guoli said. His attention was completely drawn to the front. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. As he shuttled through the trees, the sun-shooting bow landed in Duan Ling Tian's hands. He looked straight ahead. In his left eye, the black vortex in his pupil slowly turned. Strange pupil. In an instant, the vision in his left eye was extremely clear. Every tree, trunk, and leaf fell into his eyes, and they were clearly separated. After shuttling through the trees for more than 10 breaths, Duan Ling Tian's eyes suddenly lit up. With a raise of his hand, his true chi condensed into an arrow and knocked it on the bowstring of the sun-shooting bow. Whoosh. With a shake of the bowstring, Duan Ling Tian pulled the bowstring back a little. Even though Duan Ling Tian had broken through to the intermediate mortal shedding stage and his strength was on par with the mastery mortal shedding stage, he could not pull the bowstring of the 5-clawed devil dragon's tendon much. Guoli and Zhu Lang, who were following closely behind, saw Duan Ling Tian knocking the arrow. Their hearts skipped a beat. Did he find the target? Clang. Just when they noticed it, the true chi arrow in Duan Ling Tian's hand left the sun-shooting bow in an instant. It turned into an arrow mark and disappeared into the air. At the same time, a figure that was 100 meters away collapsed with a loud bang. The one who fell was a middle-aged man with a dusty face. There was a bloody hole in his head and blood was still flowing out from it. He was no longer breathing. He could not be any more dead. When the middle-aged man collapsed, the other two middle-aged men nearby had a drastic change of expression. The people from the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City are here. At that moment, the two of them panicked and performed their movement techniques in an attempt to hide. Whoosh. Just when the two of them moved, another true chi arrow pierced through the air and killed one of them. The other person was still alive and was hiding behind a tree. The trunk of the tree was so thick that it would take 2 grown men to wrap their arms around it. What a terrifying archer. The middle-aged man who was hiding behind the tree panted heavily. His expression was terrible. In the blink of an eye, his 2 companions were killed. From the beginning until the end, he only saw 2 arrow marks flashing by. Did the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City throw us into this valley just to toy with us? The middle-aged man's face was filled with rage. He felt that he had been greatly humiliated. His eyes were bloodshot, but there was a hint of helplessness in the depths of his eyes. Whoosh! Another piercing sound that was short-lived was heard. It made the middle-aged man's expression change drastically, and his heart skipped a beat. Oh no! In the next moment he felt a sharp pain in his abdomen. When he lowered his head, he realized that his abdomen had been pierced. Subsequently, his consciousness became blurry and erratic. Whoosh! At the same time, a purple figure appeared next to the tree and looked coldly at the middle-aged man who was swaying. However, the middle-aged man did not seem to notice him. Whoosh! Whoosh! At this moment, Guo Li and Zhu Lang had arrived as well. They were stunned when they saw the scene before them. Oh God! Duan Lingtian had shot 3 arrows, and he had killed 2 bandits and severely injured one of them? Moreover, the bandit behind him was hiding behind a tree that would take 2 grown men to wrap their arms around it. This is a hemlock tree. Zhu Lang sucked in a breath of cold air. He recognized the tree in front of him immediately. It was a big tree with a hole in its thick trunk. The hemlock tree was a unique tree in the Dao Martial Saint land. This kind of tree was extremely tough. An ordinary intermediate mortal shedding stage martial artist would not be able to pierce through the tree in front of them with just 1 arrow. However, Duan Lingtian had done it. Not only did he pierce through the tree, but he also severely injured the middle-aged man who was hiding behind it. The middle-aged man struggled for a while before he finally collapsed and died. How many points are these 3 bandits worth? Duan Lingtian asked nonchalantly as though he was asking someone. Whoosh! Whoosh! Almost as soon as Duan Lingtian's words left his mouth, the 2 middle-aged men in silver armor who had followed the 3 of them in appeared like ghosts. 2 early mortal shedding stage and 1 intermediate mortal shedding stage. They're worth a total of 5 points. One of the middle-aged men said expressionlessly. Only 5 points? Duan Lingtian frowned. He leaped into the air again and landed on the tree beside him before he continued to move through the trees. Guo Li and Zhu Lang followed him. He seems to be that Duan Lingtian. The middle-aged man who spoke expressionlessly left a mark on the 3 dead bandits after Duan Lingtian and the other 2 left. Then he followed them again. He's indeed a good seedling. No wonder Lord City Governor and Big Brother value him so much. The other middle-aged man followed as well. In just a blink of an eye, the 2 of them had already moved through the trees not far away and followed Duan Lingtian and the other 2 from afar. Apart from recording the results, their duty was to protect Duan Lingtian and the other 2. Therefore they would not allow Duan Lingtian and the other 2 to leave their sight. With the strange pupil, Duan Lingtian always took the initiative to kill the bandits who did not have time to react. He would leave corpses for the people who followed behind him. We're just taking advantage of Duan Lingtian by following him. Guo Li and Zhu Lang who were following behind Duan Lingtian looked at each other and smiled wryly. They had not made a move since they entered the valley. However, many bandits had died in front of them, but they were all killed by Duan Lingtian. Damn it! Why are there corpses everywhere? Not far behind, Jing Jian was coincidentally following Duan Lingtian and the other 2 in a straight line. He moved forward cautiously but all he saw were corpses. For a moment he felt that something was amiss. No. We have to change directions. At this moment he finally came to his senses and changed directions to continue moving forward. Not long after he finally encountered a bandit. This bandit was very weak, at least in front of him. He was killed in an instant. The early stage of the immortal shedding stage is only 1 point. Jing Jian frowned and continued on his way. At the same time, apart from Duan Lingtian and the other 2 as well as Jing Jian, the other 10 people were searching the entire valley. One by one the bandits died in their hands. No matter how big the valley was, there was an end to it. Duan Lingtian and the other 2 were the first to arrive at the forest in the middle of the valley. Duan Lingtian's strange pupil suddenly narrowed. He saw another bandit appear in his left eye's field of vision. This bandit was standing there, waiting for something. The corners of Duan Lingtian's mouth curled into a cold smile as he shot out another arrow. Whoosh! The arrow pierced through the air at an astonishing speed. Not good. Chapter 1401. In the blink of an eye, the bandit noticed Duan Lingtian's arrow in time. He lowered his head and rolled away awkwardly. However, he managed to dodge Duan Lingtian's true chi arrow by a hair's breadth. A few strands of hair fluttered in the air. Late-stage mortal shedding realm. Seeing that the bandit dodged the arrow, Duan Lingtian was not disappointed. Instead, his eyes lit up. In an instant he shot another arrow. Body and arrow synchronization. Duan Lingtian leaped and shot out with the arrow. In the blink of an eye, he was already in front of the bandit, who stood up awkwardly after rolling away and landed steadily. At this time, the bandit also noticed Duan Lingtian. His expression changed drastically. "Were you the one who shot me in the back just now?" Late-stage mortal shedding realm, 7 points. Duan Lingtian looked at the bandit like a hunter who saw his prey. His eyes were shining like two bright stars in the night sky. "How dare you ignore me, kid? You're courting death." As a late-stage mortal shedding realm existence, the bandit had an unusual arrogance. Seeing that Duan Lingtian dared to ignore him, he was instantly enraged. Bang! He stomped his feet on the ground, causing the ground to crack. Then he charged toward Duan Lingtian like a cannonball. A large saber appeared in his hand. The true energy on the saber raged as the saber ray skyrocketed. It was as though it had transformed into a gigantic saber that was 10 feet long as it slashed down toward Duan Lingtian's head. It was as though it wanted to slash Duan Lingtian into two. As the saber fell, the bandit sneered as if he had already seen the scene of the purple-clothed young man in front of him being cut in half. Facing the bandit's saber, Duan Lingtian's expression was calm. Body and arrow synchronization. Another arrow was shot. Duan Lingtian, who was stepping on the arrow, barely dodged the bandit's saber. In an instant he was not far from the bandit's side. Shooting star arrow hail. With a raise of his hand, Duan Lingtian shot an arrow. By the time the bandit's expression changed and he realized what was going on, the rain of arrows was already whistling down from the sky. It was like a meteor shower. In the face of the rain of arrows that swept through the sky, the bandits did not dare to be negligent. With a raise of their hands, the sabers in their hands swiftly swept out, blocking the rain of arrows that blotted out the sky and covered the earth. Meteor strike. Just as the criminals were fending off the rain of arrows and trying to escape, Duan Lingtian struck again. Whoosh! Only one arrow pierced through the bandit's forehead, killing him. As long as the martial cultivators at the Mastery Mortal Shedding stage were not at the peak of the Mastery Mortal Shedding stage, they were like clay chickens and pottery dogs in front of Duan Lingtian. They were not worth mentioning. "Duan Lingtian, this bandit actually dodged your arrow." At this moment, Zhu Lang, who caught up with him, said in surprise. One must know that almost all the bandits they encountered along the way were killed by Duan Lingtian with just one arrow. Right now, this was the first bandit who managed to dodge Duan Lingtian's arrow. He's a Mastery Mortal Shedding stage martial cultivator. Duan Lingtian smiled. Mastery Mortal Shedding stage. At this moment, whether it was Zhu Lang or Guoli who caught up with him, their eyes lit up. This was the first bandit at the Mastery Mortal Shedding stage that they encountered. Including this, we seem to have 39 points now. Zhu Lang had excitement written all over his face. Even if the three of them shared the points equally, he would still have 13 points. 13 points would be equivalent to 1,300 merit points in the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City. Let's continue. Duan Lingtian leaped into the air again and continued his journey by accumulating energy on the trees. The strange pupil in his left eye was constantly operating. Naturally, it was operating very slowly. Otherwise, his spiritual energy would not be able to keep up at all. Due to this reason, Duan Lingtian had only used up 1/5 of his spiritual energy so far. He still had 4/5 of it left for him to squander. Duan Lingtian and the other two looked like they were reaping the lives of bandits wherever they went. Naturally, the people who killed were all Duan Lingtian. I really don't know why this Duan Lingtian wants to work with someone else. The other two didn't even make a move along the way. A middle-aged man in silver armor who was hiding in the dark and tailing Duan Lingtian and the other two could not help but shake his head. As the saying goes, if you die under a beautiful woman, you'll still be a romantic ghost. This Duan Lingtian made such a choice for a woman. I'm really speechless. The other middle-aged man in silver armor shook his head as well. It was obvious that he thought Duan Lingtian was lusting after Guoli's beauty. That was why he decided to work with Guoli and help her. That's right. If it weren't for this woman, the first place in the test set by Lord City Governor today would definitely be him. The middle-aged man said again, secretly lamenting that a beauty was a source of trouble. From the beginning until the end, they could see that it was not Duan Lingtian and Guo Li who were carrying a burden. It was Duan Lingtian who was carrying 2 burdens by himself. However, his eyesight is too amazing. We haven't even seen anyone in front of us, but he's already shot his arrow. Apart from the bandit at the Mastery Mortal Shedding stage earlier, the other bandits were all killed by his arrow. That's right. Even if it was me, I wouldn't be able to do it. His eyes don't look like a human's eyes at all. How can a human's eyes see so far away? The 2 people who were hiding in the dark and recording the results of Duan Lingtian and the other 2 people who were protecting them discussed with each other through true energy voice transmission. From the beginning until now, they had noticed that Duan Lingtian's eyesight was far beyond that of ordinary people. Perhaps they were stronger than Duan Lingtian. However, in terms of eyesight they were not as good as him. Just as Duan Lingtian was sweeping away the bandits, several swift silhouettes were moving in different directions. They were moving at a speed that was not inferior to Duan Lingtian's. Jianghu, who ranked 2nd among the 13 gangsters, led the way. Jin Yuan Bao, who ranked 3rd, followed closely behind. Behind them were Sun Gu, who was ranked 4th, and Zheng Jian, who was ranked 5th. Along the way they encountered a small number of bandits at the Mastery Mortal Shedding stage and a large number of bandits at the early and intermediate Mortal Shedding stage. However, although Sun Gu and Zheng Jian each killed a bandit at the Mastery Mortal Shedding stage, they were also injured quite badly. The people from the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City are just SOSO. Along with a mocking laugh, a figure was sent flying with a bang before crashing hard on the ground. He was in a sorry state as blood gushed out of his mouth. Zhang Jilong's expression was extremely terrible as he looked at the bandit at the Mastery Mortal Shedding stage who was walking toward him with a murderous look on his face. Duan Lingtian. It's all because of you. If it weren't for you, even if I couldn't defeat him, I could have at least tied with him. Zhang Jilong gritted his teeth as he faced the bandit who wanted to kill him. However, he did not hate the bandit in front of him now. Instead, he hated Duan Lingtian. In his opinion, if Duan Lingtian had not injured him severely the day before yesterday, causing him to drag his injured body to participate in the test today, he would not have ended up like this. Just as the bandit was about to kill Zhang Jilong, a silver figure appeared. The 36 guardians of the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City. However, when the bandit saw the young man in silver armor in front of him, his expression changed drastically. He hurriedly turned around as if he wanted to escape. Right now he only had one thought left in his mind. Run. Run as far away as possible. However, could he escape? The young man in silver armor disappeared on the spot. When he reappeared, he was already blocking the bandit's path. Before the bandit could beg for mercy, he was already killed. The entire process was as smooth as flowing water. You're eliminated. After killing the bandit, the young man in silver armor glanced at Zhang Jilong indifferently and said. Zhang Jilong stood up with a gloomy expression. He turned around and walked back the way he came. He knew that he was not destined to be the city governor of Mound Hill City. He was not destined to be the disciple of the city governor of Mound Hill City. 12 points. Thinking about the points he had obtained, Zhang Jilong's mood became even more gloomy. Just as Zhang Jilong was eliminated. In another place, Ho Lin was also severely injured by a Mastery Mortal Shedding stage bandit. Fortunately, one of the 36 guardians who was protecting him intervened and saved his life. However, he was also eliminated. When Zhang Jilong and Ho Lin walked out of the valley, they realized that 4 people had already been eliminated before them. These 4 people were the 4 people who ranked at the bottom of the 13 gangsters. However, these 4 people were only martial cultivators at the intermediate Mortal Shedding stage. After realizing this, both of their faces turned slightly pale. Damn it! That Duan Lingtian hasn't come out yet. Seeing that Duan Lingtian had not been eliminated, both of them were upset. Although they could not wait for Duan Lingtian to die in there, they knew that the 36 guardians were the 36 guardians. However, they knew that with the protection of the 36 guardians, it was impossible for Duan Lingtian to die inside. At this moment, they could only hope that Duan Lingtian would be eliminated as soon as possible. Unfortunately, they were destined to be disappointed. Just when Duan Lingtian and the other 2 almost reached the end of the valley, the other 4 people also reached the end of the valley one after another and saw each other. Duan Lingtian. Guo Li. 4 pairs of eyes fell on Duan Lingtian and Guo Li at the same time. As for Zhu Lang, who was next to them, he was completely ignored. Duan Lingtian, I didn't expect you to be so lucky to be able to make it this far. I thought you'd be eliminated halfway. Zheng Jian mocked with a fake smile. My luck has always been good. There's nothing unexpected about it. Duan Lingtian glanced at Zheng Jian indifferently. You, on the other hand, really surprised me by being able to make it this far. Zheng Jian snorted softly and looked at Guoli, who was next to Duan Lingtian. Sister Gua, you should have cooperated with me. Along the way, you didn't get many points from cooperating with Duan Lingtian, right? As he spoke, he looked at Duan Lingtian with a mocking smile. Duan Lingtian did not say anything when he heard Zheng Jian's words. On the other hand, Zhu Lang, who was next to Duan Lingtian and Guoli, almost laughed out loud. He did not get many points from cooperating with Duan Lingtian? Ha! Just when Guoli's expression darkened and she was about to say something, a burst of wild laughter came from the depths of the valley. It was getting closer and closer. Not long after, a figure appeared in front of Duan Lingtian and the others. It was a middle-aged man in a gray robe. There were a few scars on his face that made him look ferocious. The fact that you're able to make it here means that you're quite strong. Unfortunately, you're destined to die here today. Chapter 1402. Perfection Mortal Shedding Stage. Duan Lingtian's heart skipped a beat. Activating his divine eye, he immediately detected the cultivation base of the gray-clad middle-aged man with a ferocious face. His opponent was a Perfection Mortal Shedding Stage powerhouse. He's a Perfection Mortal Shedding Stage bandit. Looking at the gray-clad middle-aged man, Duan Lingtian had a hint of fear in his eyes. Let's see if you have the ability to kill us here. Zheng Jian sneered. At this moment, Zheng Jian's eyes were fixed on the gray-clad middle-aged man. He did not notice that Jianghu and Jin Yuanbao's expressions had turned solemn as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Even Sun Gu, after seeing the expressions of Xiong Quan and the other man, paused his restless figure. I'll show you soon. The gray-clad middle-aged man grinned. Then, without any movement, he disappeared like a gust of wind. When he reappeared, he was already in front of Zheng Jian. That's fast. His speed was so fast that it caused everyone's expressions to change. A small whirlpool appeared in his left pupil as he activated his strange pupil. After capturing the gray-clad middle-aged man's movement, Duan Lingtian felt that half of his spiritual power had been depleted. The spiritual power he had consumed at this moment was almost comparable to the spiritual power he had consumed along the way. Is this the speed of a Perfection Mortal Shedding Stage? Duan Lingtian's heart skipped a beat. Not only did the Perfection Mortal Shedding Stage have many saint veins, but their sea of qi was also ridiculously huge. The amount of true qi it contained was incomparable to those on the Mastery Mortal Shedding Stage, let alone those on the Intermediate Mortal Shedding Stage. The genuine energy of a Perfection Mortal Shedding Stage martial cultivator swept out from his body. Regardless of whether it was his strength or his speed, it had reached a terrifying level. Duan Lingtian had noticed this when Ling Yun fought with Su Qi yesterday. This Perfection Mortal Shedding Stage bandit's ability is probably above Ling Yun's. Duan Lingtian came to a shocking conclusion after comparing this bandit with Ling Yun, who was ranked first among the 13 gangsters. If it was him in the past, he might not be able to tell the difference. However, now that he possessed the strange pupils, he was able to easily discover this by activating his strange pupils. Zheng Jian's expression changed drastically. He didn't expect that as soon as the gray-robed middle-aged man finished speaking, the man had already arrived in front of him. Perfection Mortal Shedding Stage. At this moment he had also guessed the other party's cultivation level, and his face was filled with fear. In an instant the true qi under his feet surged, and he planned to use a movement technique to escape. However, when he moved, he discovered that his opponent's hand enveloped him like a palm leaf fan. It was so fast that he was simply unable to dodge in time. At this moment, Zheng Jian's face was filled with despair. Bang! A loud noise was heard, followed by a wave of qi that made everyone's robes flutter. In the next moment, everyone saw. A silver figure appeared in front of Zheng Jian. It was a middle-aged man in silver armor. He blocked the palm of the middle-aged man in gray. One of the 36 personal guards following behind Zheng Jian finally appeared at the crucial moment and saved Zheng Jian's life. The gray-clad middle-aged man shuddered as he looked at the silver-armored middle-aged man with a gloomy expression. The 36 guardians of the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City? Didn't the city governor's office of Mound Hill City order us to deal with the people who entered the valley? Why did you interfere? It's your business to deal with them. It's my business to protect them. Master City Governor said that as long as you can eliminate all of them, he'll let you live. The silver-armored middle-aged man glanced at the gray-clad middle-aged man indifferently before he looked at Zheng Jian. You're eliminated. Zheng Jian's expression was grave, but there was nothing he could do. He could only turn around and leave with the silver-armored middle-aged man. When he left, he did not forget to turn around and glare at Duan Lingtian fiercely. Using me as a touchstone? At this moment, the gray-clad middle-aged man finally realized that the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City was using him as a touchstone. The few of you must be from the latent dragon camp of the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City, right? The gray-clad middle-aged man asked in a deep voice as he glanced at Duan Lingtian and the others. I can guess even if you don't tell me. The gray-clad middle-aged man snorted coldly and continued, although I can't kill you, none of you will pass this test in my hands. I'll eliminate all of you. Confidence shone in the gray-clad middle-aged man's eyes when he reached the end of his sentence. Jin Yuan Bao's expression changed when he heard the gray-clad middle-aged man's words. He shouted loudly, "Everyone, we can only join forces." At this moment, whether it was Jin Yuan Bao, Jianghu, or Sun Gu, all of them had confirmed that the gray-clad middle-aged man's cultivation base was at the perfection mortal shedding stage. None of them was a match for a perfection mortal shedding stage powerhouse. They would only stand a chance if they joined forces. Join forces? The gray-clad middle-aged man could not help but scoff when he heard Jin Yuan Bao's words. Then he disappeared before Xionghu, Jin Yuan Bao, Sun Gu Guoli and Zhu Lang's eyes again. Duan Lingtian activated his strange pupil and managed to catch a glimpse of the gray-clad middle-aged man's silhouette. In just a blink of an eye, the gray-clad middle-aged man arrived in front of Jin Yuan Bao and slammed his palm out. Boom! The Saint Weapon Glove's true energy skyrocketed and transformed into a solid palm print that was about to land on Jin Yuan Bao. Bang! Another silver-armored middle-aged man appeared and blocked the gray-clad middle-aged man's palm. He was one of the 36 guardians. Eliminated. The silver-armored middle-aged man looked at Jin Yuan Bao and said coolly. Jin Yuan Bao smiled wryly and helplessly. His opponent was so fast that he could not react in time. Although he knew that a perfection mortal shedding stage powerhouse was powerful, he did not expect him to be this powerful. In just a blink of an eye, he was already in front of him. Eliminated. Eliminated. After Jin Yuan Bao was eliminated, a few more cold voices were heard. Zhu Lang, Guo Li, Sun Gu, and Xionghu were eliminated one after another. Among the four of them, only Xionghu lasted until the second move before he was eliminated. He's so fast. Xionghu was the last one to leave. Before he left, he looked at the afterimage that was shot out along with the arrow with a solemn expression. This Duan Lingtian is faster than me. The afterimage that was shot out along with the arrow was Duan Lingtian. Guo Li and Zhu Lang left. With the 36 guardians around, they were not worried about Duan Lingtian's safety. Of course, they did not think that Duan Lingtian could deal with the perfection mortal shedding stage bandit. It seems like nobody will be able to obtain these 20 points. A middle-aged man in silver armor stood on a big tree at the side and shook his head gently. 20 points were the points that one could obtain by killing a perfection mortal shedding stage bandit. Now, Duan Lingtian was the only one left among the latent dragon camp's 13 gangsters. Although Duan Lingtian was quite powerful and could defeat ordinary martial cultivators on the mastery mortal shedding stage, it was still not enough. However, this did not mean that Duan Lingtian could fight a perfection mortal shedding stage bandit. His speed is even faster than Xionghu, who's ranked second among the 13 gangsters. It's no wonder that Duan Lingtian could last until now. However, his speed is nothing compared to this mastery mortal shedding stage bandit. The middle-aged man in silver armor, one of the 36 guardians, continued to shake his head. He was alert and prepared to save Duan Lingtian at any time. Judging from Duan Lingtian's current speed, he could see that Duan Lingtian's current strength was at the peak of the mastery mortal shedding stage at most. He was still far from the perfection mortal shedding stage. You're the only one left. As long as I eliminate you, I'll be able to regain my freedom. The perfection mortal shedding stage bandit, the middle-aged man in gray, looked at Duan Lingtian, who was moving with the arrow. His eyes were gleaming and there was a hint of excitement on his gloomy face. Are you that confident that you'll be able to regain your freedom? Finally, Duan Lingtian stopped moving. He stood far away from the middle-aged man in gray and confronted him from afar. I admit that your speed is faster than that muscular guy just now. However, your strength is at the peak of the mastery mortal shedding stage at most. My strength is close to the peak of the perfection mortal shedding stage. You're like an ant in front of me. I can trample on you however I want. The middle-aged man in gray said slowly as he sized up Duan Lingtian. Go ahead and try. Duan Lingtian narrowed his eyes and said nonchalantly. At this moment, he no longer planned to perform his movement technique because he knew that he would not be able to catch up to the middle-aged man in gray's speed even if he performed his movement technique. His opponent was on the perfection mortal shedding stage after all. He performed his movement technique earlier because he did not want the middle-aged man in gray to target him first. He was stalling for time so that the middle-aged man in gray could eliminate the others first. Now that the others had been eliminated, there was no need for him to perform his movement technique to avoid them. Where did this Duanling Tian get his confidence from? The middle-aged man in silver who was hiding in the dark could not help but frown when he saw the confident gleam in Duanling Tian's eyes. No matter what happens later, please don't interfere. At this moment, a voice entered the silver-robed middle-aged man's ears. He could tell that it was Duanling Tian's voice. Duanling Tian was communicating with him through true energy voice transmission. Duanling Tian asked him not to interfere? Aren't you afraid of death? The silver-robed middle-aged man frowned and asked through true energy voice transmission. I won't die. Duanling Tian transmitted his voice through true energy voice transmission again. His voice was filled with confidence. Humph. At the same time, the middle-aged man in gray who was enraged by Duanling Tian's provocation could no longer hold himself back. He snorted coldly and shot out as though he had transformed into a bolt of lightning. His speed was so fast that a short-lived piercing sound could be heard in the air. His target was Duanling Tian. Faced with the menacing middle-aged man in gray, Duanling Tian's right eye could not capture the slightest trace. However, the middle-aged man's figure appeared clearly in his left eye. In just a blink of an eye, his left eye saw the middle-aged man in gray had arrived in front of him. Boom. The moment the middle-aged man in gray arrived in front of Duanling Tian, the true energy in his palm, which he had long accumulated, suddenly pressed down on Duanling Tian like a five-fingered mountain. Seeing that the middle-aged man in gray's palm was only inches away from Duanling Tian, the middle-aged man in silver who was hiding in the dark had a grave expression on his face. He had missed the best opportunity to make a move. Duanling Tian, you can only blame yourself if you're killed. Chapter 1403. The gray-clad middle-aged man's palm seemed to have transformed into a five-fingered mountain as he tried to suppress Duanling Tian. The power of a perfection mortal shedding stage cultivator was fully displayed. In order to regain his freedom, the gray-clad middle-aged man did not hold back at all. Seeing that the gray-clad middle-aged man's palm was about to land on him, the little vortex in Duanling Tian's left pupil spun faster and faster. In an instant, Duanling Tian's remaining mind power was almost completely drained by the little vortex. Strange pupil. Spatial shift. In the blink of an eye, the gray-clad middle-aged man's palm that was about to land on Duanling Tian shifted strangely and brushed past Duanling Tian's body. The vast and mighty strength caused the air to vibrate, emitting a series of thunderous explosions. How's that possible? At the same time, the gray-clad middle-aged man's expression changed drastically. However, at this moment, he was sent flying by the palm strike that he unleashed with all his might. He was completely exposed in front of Duanling Tian. In a split second, the true energy in Duanling Tian's qi gushed out unreservedly and gathered in his right hand through the 32 saint veins. At the same time, he pulled the bowstring of the sun-shooting bow with all his might and released it. Clang. Buzz. A solid true energy light blade flew out and sliced through the gray-clad middle-aged man's throat before he could retract his true energy and activate his defensive technique. His head was severed from his body. Plop. The gray-clad middle-aged man's head fell to the ground. Blood spurted out from the two halves of his body and dyed the ground red. Duanling Tian took the opportunity to move to the side. The gray-clad middle-aged man's body was then swept away by the inertia of the palm. The perfection mortal shedding stage bandit died just like that. He was completely dead. Silence. The scene was dead silent. Even if a needle was thrown to the ground, the sound could be heard. The gray-clad middle-aged man who was hiding at the side, one of the 36 guardians, stared blankly at the scene in front of him and could not regain his senses for a long time. When Duanling Tian told him not to interfere, he thought that Duanling Tian was being arrogant. Seeing that Duanling Tian was about to be killed, she thought the Duanling Tian would be killed by the perfection mortal shedding stage bandit because he did not make a move in time because of Duanling Tian's words. Who would have thought that at the last moment, the bandit seemed to have been bewitched? His palm that was moving forward with a ferocious momentum actually changed direction abruptly and slapped towards Duanling Tian's side. In that instant, even he hadn't noticed how the criminals had changed directions. In his field of vision, the criminal's hand seemed to disappear into thin air. At the same time, it appeared to the side out of thin air, dodging Duan Lingtian. He couldn't figure out what was going on. Then he saw Duan Lingtian take advantage of the bandit's missed attack and the fact that he could not withdraw his strength to defend himself. Duan Lingtian decisively killed the bandit. As a peak perfection mortal shedding stage existence, he knew very well that the bandit's missed attack was the turning point. Logically speaking, his attack should have been enough to kill Duan Lingtian. However, it strangely avoided Duan Lingtian at the critical moment. It was because his attack missed that he was killed by Duan Lingtian. Could it be? This Duan Lingtian knew this would happen? When he recalled Duan Lingtian's true energy voice transmission that forbade him from interfering, his heart skipped a beat as an incredulous thought rose in his mind. Could it be his doing? He did not dare to think further. If it was really Duan Lingtian's doing, how terrifying would it be? At this moment, a greedy gleam appeared in the depth of the silver-armored middle-aged man's eyes without any warning. If it's really Duan Lingtian's doing, if I can get my hands on it, won't I be able to fight a paramount mortal shedding stage powerhouse with my cultivation base at the peak of the perfection mortal shedding stage? The silver-armored middle-aged man was excited as he thought about this. By then, my Heavenly Dark Guardian's ability will be on par with most of the top 10 Guardians. The Heavenly Dark Guardian was ranked 18th among the 36 Guardians in the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City. He had a cultivation base at the peak of the perfection mortal shedding stage. Duan Lingtian's face was slightly pale as his spiritual energy was almost depleted. At the same time, he became more alert of his surroundings. He noticed a burning gaze. Currently, his spiritual energy was completely depleted, which affected his ability to a certain extent. He might not even be a match for an ordinary mastery mortal shedding stage martial cultivator now. Is it one of the 36 guardians? Duan Lingtian became alert. Whoosh. After the Heavenly Dark Guardian appeared, Duan Lingtian became even more alert. He saw a subtle gleam of greed in the depth of his eyes. Greed? What does he want? Could it be? Could he have noticed something earlier? Is he plotting something against me? Duan Lingtian's heart sank as he thought about this. Just as the Heavenly Dark Guardian walked over quietly, Duan Lingtian took a few steps back. At this moment, a soft sound of surprise came from the sky. It made the Heavenly Dark Guardian's expression change slightly. At the same time, he stopped walking toward Duan Lingtian. Heavenly Leader Guardian. When Duan Lingtian lifted his head and saw the Heavenly Leader Guardian standing in the air, he immediately sighed in relief. He knew that since the leader of the 36 Guardians, the Heavenly Leader Guardian, was here, the silver-armored middle-aged man before him, one of the 36 Guardians, would not dare to act like before. However, Duan Lingtian knew very well that the Heavenly Leader Guardian had only resolved his crisis temporarily. Since his opponent was greedy, it was impossible for him to suppress it so easily. Big brother. The Heavenly Dark Guardian bowed respectfully in front of the Heavenly Leader Guardian. Heavenly Dark Guardian? The Heavenly Leader Guardian stepped on the air and landed next to Duan Lingtian and the Heavenly Dark Guardian in just a blink of an eye. He looked at the Heavenly Dark Guardian and asked with a frown, "Did you kill this perfection mortal shedding stage bandit?" No. The Heavenly Dark Guardian shook his head and subsequently looked at Duan Lingtian and said, "He killed him." The Heavenly Dark Guardian. When the Heavenly Leader Guardian appeared and greeted the silver-armored middle-aged man before him, Duan Lingtian already knew the silver-armored middle-aged man's name. The Heavenly Dark Guardian. It's named after the 36 heavenly stars. The Heavenly Dark Guardian seems to be ranked 18th. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. Duan Lingtian? At the same time, with the Heavenly Dark Guardian's reminder, the Heavenly Leader Guardian looked at Duan Lingtian in shock. "Did you kill this perfection mortal shedding stage bandit?" "Yes." Duan Lingtian nodded. When he saw the shock on the Heavenly Leader Guardian's face, Duan Lingtian continued, "He fought with the others earlier and exhausted a lot of energy. I was lucky enough to kill him." Lucky? Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, the Heavenly Leader Guardian had a look of disbelief on his face as he stared deeply at Duan Lingtian. "The test is over. You can leave now," the Heavenly Leader Guardian said after a while. "It's over? So soon?" Duan Lingtian was stunned. "There's only one perfection mortal shedding stage bandit in this valley. He's hiding at the end of the valley. You've killed the rest of the bandits." The Heavenly Leader Guardian said, "Therefore there's no more bandits in this valley. There's no point for you to stay here." Realization dawned on Duan Tian. When he left with the Heavenly Leader Guardian, Duan Tian clearly noticed that the Heavenly Dark Guardian's burning gaze would land on him from time to time. It seems like I shouldn't use the strange pupil in front of others in the future. Otherwise I'll be in trouble sooner or later. Duan Tian thought to himself as his heart sank. He had already guessed that it was the Perfection Mortal Shedding Stage Bandit's palm strike that missed its target that exposed the Heavenly Dark Guardian. The Heavenly Dark Guardian must have thought that it was some special technique of his and coveted it. I'll have to be careful in the city governor's mansion in the future. Since the Heavenly Dark Guardian can't find an opportunity today, he'll definitely find an opportunity to make things difficult for me in the future. It was not difficult for Duan Tian to guess this. Perhaps the Heavenly Dark Guardian would not kill him in the beginning, but he would definitely force him to hand over the spatial manipulation technique. Although he knew that the spatial manipulation technique originated from the strange pupil, it could not be replicated. However, the Heavenly Dark Guardian did not know this. If I can't hand it over by then, I'm afraid my life will be in danger. Duan Tian thought to himself. Under the Heavenly Leader Guardian's lead, Duan Tian left the valley and returned to the outside of the valley. Where are they? When he returned to the outside, Duan Tian noticed that there was no one outside. Everyone, including the other 36 guardians, had left. Master City Governor has brought them back to Mound Hill City. The Heavenly Leader Guardian reminded Duan Tian as if he could see the confusion on his face. Now, follow me back to Mound Hill City. I'll report the results of the test to Master City Governor. After calling out to Duan Tian, the Heavenly Leader Guardian took the lead and leaped into the air to lead the way. Duan Tian followed closely behind. Behind Duan Tian, the Heavenly Dark Guardian leaped into the air. It was obvious that he was prepared to follow the Heavenly Leader Guardian and Duan Tian back to Mound Hill City and the City Governor's Mansion. In the meeting room of the City Governor's Mansion in Mound Hill City, Master City Governor. Suddenly, a loud and respectful voice came from outside, attracting the attention of the group of people in the meeting hall. In the meeting hall, the City Governor of Mound Hill City sat majestically at the head of the table. Below him stood 11 young men and 1 young woman. They were the 11 of the 13 gangsters who had just returned from outside and Zhu Lang, an ordinary member of the Latent Dragon Camp. Come in. Hearing the voice coming from outside, the City Governor of Mound Hill City spoke calmly. Master Heavenly Leader Guardian. Seeing a figure enter the meeting hall first, many people greeted him respectfully. Soon, the people in the room noticed that there was a purple figure following closely behind the Heavenly Leader Guardian. It was Duan Tian, who ranked 6th among the 13 gangsters in the Latent Dragon Camp. Duan Tian. Seeing Duan Tian, a smile appeared on Guo Li and Zhu Lang's faces. Of course, Duan Tian's appearance caused some people to be happy and some to hate him. For example, Zheng Jian, Ho Lin and Zhang Jilong had already formed an irreconcilable enmity with Duan Tian. When they saw Duan Tian, they gnashed their teeth in hatred. Master City Governor, the final results and rankings of today's test are out. After entering the meeting hall, the Heavenly Leader Guardian reported to the City Governor of Mound Hill City. Speak. Chapter 1404. The person who ranked first in today's test is Jianghu. He obtained a total of 36 points. The person who ranked second is Jin Yuan Bao. He obtained a total of 32 points. The Heavenly Leader Guardian announced loudly in the meeting hall. Everyone looked at Jianghu and Jin Yuan Bao as soon as the Heavenly Leader Guardian was done speaking. No wonder they're ranked second and third among the 13 gangsters. They ranked first and second in today's test. Many people exclaimed. Both of them will become Master City Governor's disciples. Many people looked envious. Of course, some of them smiled wryly and felt helpless. Jianghu laughed, laughing very happily. Although Jin Yuan Bao's smile was not as exaggerated as Jianghu's, he smirked too. It was enough to show how happy he was at that moment. From today onwards, Jianghu and Jin Yuan Bao will be my disciples. The City Governor of Mound Hill City announced. However, he glanced at Duan Tian without anyone noticing. His eyes were filled with disappointment. Since the City Governor of Mound Hill City had said earlier that he would only take the first and second place in today's test as his disciples, the Heavenly Leader Guardian did not reveal the other people's rankings and results. As the City Governor of Mound Hill City spoke, everyone looked at Jianghu and Jin Yuan Bao with envy and jealousy. As for the rest of you, I will send your points records to the Merit Pavilion. In 3 days you can go and receive the corresponding merit points you obtained today. You can get the points you need from the Merit Pavilion, the Heavenly Leader Guardian said as he looked at Duan Lingtian and the rest. At that moment, everyone was in high spirits again. 1 point is 100 merit points. I have 8 points so I can exchange them for 800 merit points. An intermediate mortal shedding stage martial cultivator among the 13 gangsters chuckled. I have a little more points than you. I can exchange them for 900 merit points. Another intermediate mortal shedding stage martial cultivator chuckled too. Heavenly Leader Guardian Jianghu and Jinyuan Bao stay here. The rest of you return to the Latent Dragon camp. The city governor of Mound Hill City spoke calmly. His voice echoed in the entire meeting hall. Just as everyone shook their heads, sighed, and was about to leave, a beautiful figure stepped forward and said to the city governor of Mound Hill City, Master City Governor, the points of our 3-person team were all obtained by Duan Lingtian alone. Sir Mayor, please give the points of the group to Duan Lingtian. The person who spoke to the city governor of Mound Hill City was none other than Guoli. In her opinion, if Duan Lingtian hadn't split the points from killing the criminals equally with her and Zhu Lang, Jianghu wouldn't have gotten first place in today's test. Guoli, Duan Lingtian frowned. He didn't expect Guoli to explain for him. That's right. Lord Mayor, all the points were obtained by Duan Lingtian. I am ashamed to accept them. Zhu Lang gritted his teeth and stepped forward as well. Although he really wanted the contribution points, he felt uneasy watching Duan Lingtian being eliminated. In his opinion, among the participants of today's test, Duan Lingtian was the most qualified to become the disciple of the city governor of Mound Hill City. Master City Governor has already announced the rules. Do you think this is child's play? Do you think Master City Governor will believe you when you say Duan Lingtian obtained all the points on his own? Zheng Jian sneered. The city governor of Mound Hill City sat in the main seat without saying a word. Perhaps he didn't hear what Guoli and Zhu Lang said, or perhaps he didn't even want to talk to them. Let's go. Duan Lingtian frowned. After calling out to Guoli and Zhu Lang, he turned around and left the meeting hall first. He did not expect Guoli and Zhu Lang to do that. After all, he had no interest in becoming the disciple of the city governor of Mound Hill City. Seeing that the city governor of Mound Hill City ignored them, Guoli and Zhu Lang looked at each other and smiled wryly. They could only turn around and leave with Duan Lingtian. However, they were already regretting it. They regretted joining the test with Duan Lingtian and dragging Duan Lingtian down. The others followed them and left the meeting hall. That Guoli thinks she can make Duan Lingtian become Master City Governor's disciple just by saying a few words? What a joke. Ho Lin smirked. She wants to push Duan Lingtian up the ranks with the points they obtained. I can't believe she's shameless enough to say that. Zhang Jilong said in disdain. Duan Lingtian, I'm sorry. I've dragged you down. Guoli apologized to Duan Lingtian on their way back to the Latent Dragon camp. I should be the one apologizing. I didn't expect our points to not be ranked second. Duan Lingtian sighed. He had miscalculated on 1 point. He did not expect the Perfection Mortal Shedding Stage Bandit to be the last bandit. Since entering the valley, he had obtained a total of 93 points, including killing the Perfection Mortal Shedding Stage Bandit. It was divided into 3 portions, so each of them obtained 31 points. Meanwhile, Jin Yuan Bao, who ranked second among the 13 gangsters, happened to obtain 32 points, which was 1 point more than the 3 of them. We only have 73 points in total. If we divide them into 3 portions, each of us will only have 24 points. We're still quite far away from the second place. Zhu Lang smiled wryly. Neither he nor Guoli knew that Duan Lingtian had killed the Perfection Mortal Shedding Stage Bandit. However, Duan Lingtian did not plan to explain. Naturally, Zhu Lang and Guoli would find out when they exchanged their points for merit points 3 days later. I believe Master City Governor will find out about you obtaining 73 points sooner or later, Guoli said. Guoli said, 2 of the 36 guardians were hiding in the dark to protect us. They saw you fight along the way and knew that you were the one who got the 73 points. If Master City Governor finds out about this, he'll definitely make an exception and take you in as his disciple. Guoli only thought of this now. Earlier in the meeting hall, she was so worried that she blurted it out to the city governor of Mound Hill City. Just like what Jing Jian said. The city governor of Mound Hill City might not believe her. The city governor of Mound Hill City would only believe what the 36 guardians said. That's right. Zhu Lang nodded in agreement with what Guoli said. Duan Lingtian shrugged with an indifferent expression. If there was a pity in his heart, it was not because he could not become the city governor's disciple, but because he could not return the favor to Guo Li. He had already made up his mind. If what Guo Li and Zhu Lang said was true, and the city governor of Mound Hill City made an exception and took him in as his disciple, he would definitely seize the opportunity to return the favor to Guo Li. Soon, Duan Ling Tian and the other two returned to the latent dragon camp and returned to their respective wooden houses. After Duan Ling Tian and the other two returned, Zheng Jian, Holin, Zhang Jilong, and the rest returned as well. Xionghu and Jin Yuan Bao became Master City Governor's disciples? The other latent dragon camp members were not surprised by this result. In the meeting hall, Xionghu and Jin Yuan Bao stood aside respectfully after performing the ceremony of becoming the city governor of Mound Hill City. Since their master did not ask them to leave, they did not dare to leave on their own. How many points did Duan Ling Tian and Guo Li get when they worked together? The city governor of Mound Hill City looked at the heavenly leader guardian and asked. For a moment, Xionghu and Jin Yuan Bao also looked at the heavenly leader guard. In the depths of their eyes, there was a hint of curiosity. Duan Ling Tian was undoubtedly a monster in their eyes. They also wanted to know how many points that monster's group had obtained. 93 points. The heavenly leader guardian answered after the corner of his mouth twitched slightly under the trio's gaze. 93 points? Xionghu and Jin Yuan Bao were stunned when they heard the heavenly leader guardian's words. After a while, they inhaled sharply at the same time with shock and disbelief on their faces. 93 points? Are you sure you're not mistaken? The city governor of Mound Hill City asked with a frown. No, the heavenly leader guardian said. The heavenly leader guardian said, they originally obtained 73 points. However, since the perfection mortal shedding stage bandit was killed by Duan Ling Tian in the end, they obtained 93 points. After splitting it evenly, each of them obtained 31 points. When he reached the end of his sentence, the heavenly leader guardian glanced at Jin Yuan Bao. It was as though he was telling Jin Yuan Bao how dangerous his results were. He had almost missed the second place in today's test. However, Jin Yuan Bao did not notice the heavenly leader guardian's gaze. This was because he was dumbstruck. That perfection mortal shedding stage bandit was killed by Duan Ling Tian? At this moment, whether it was Jin Yuan Bao or Xionghu, their minds were replaying Jin Yuan Bao's words at the same time. They could not calm down for a long time. Was what Guo Li said earlier true? The city governor of Mound Hill City asked again. At this moment, Xionghu and Jin Yuan Bao, who had temporarily suppressed their emotions, looked at the heavenly leader guardian again. They still remembered Guo Li saying that the points of their three-person group were all obtained by Duan Ling Tian alone. It was fine when they did not know the points of the three-person group, but now that they knew, their hearts skipped a beat. Duan Ling Tian alone obtained 93 points? They felt their hearts beating faster than ever before. It was as though their hearts would jump out at any time. It's true. The heavenly leader guardian confirmed with a nod. He was shocked when he first found out. However, he was numb when he learned that Duan Ling Tian had killed the perfection mortal shedding stage bandit. Duan Ling Tian was a person who could not be judged by common sense. That was his understanding of Duan Ling Tian. He obtained 93 points alone. He killed a perfection mortal shedding stage bandit with his intermediate mortal shedding stage cultivation base? The city governor of Mound Hill City mumbled to himself. His eyes were filled with excitement as he spoke. Xionghu and Jin Yuan Bao looked at each other and saw the shock and disbelief in each other's eyes. Unknowingly, a bitter smile appeared on the corners of their mouths. Both of you go back first. Tell Duan Ling Tian to come to the meeting hall and tell him that I'm waiting for him. Soon after, the city governor of Mound Hill City looked at Xionghu and Jin Yuan Bao and said, yes. Both of them responded respectfully and left the meeting hall, hurrying back to the latent dragon camp. Duan Ling Tian, Master wants you to go to the meeting hall. Chapter 1405. Duan Ling Tian was just about to enter the Seven Treasures exquisite pagoda when he heard voices coming from outside. He could tell that it was Xionghu and Jin Yuan Bao's voices. The master they were referring to was undoubtedly the city governor of Mound Hill City. So fast. Duan Ling Tian was a little surprised. He knew why the city governor of Mound Hill City was looking for him. It was just like what Guo Li had said. Once the city governor of Mound Hill City found out about his battle results in the valley, he would most likely make an exception and take him in as his disciple. After all, his battle results were even more exaggerated than Xionghu's. Apart from that, there was something else that even Guo Li did not know. He had killed the perfection mortal shedding stage bandit. killing someone on the perfection mortal shedding stage with his cultivation base at the intermediate mortal shedding stage. His talent and strength were enough to attract the attention of the city governor of Mound Hill City. Walking out of the wooden house, Duan Lingtian happened to see Xionghu and Jin Yuan Bao arriving at their respective wooden houses. Duan Lingtian, you're a freak. Jin Yuan Bao's true energy voice transmission entered his ears in a timely manner. Although Xionghu did not say anything, the way he looked at Duan Lingtian was extremely solemn. Duan Lingtian flew off the high platform and was about to leave the latent dragon camp. Just as he was about to walk out of the latent dragon camp's entrance, a ghostly figure appeared in front of him and blocked his way. So fast. Looking at the heavenly harm guardian, one of the 36 guardians who appeared before him, Duan Lingtian was secretly shocked. This doesn't seem like the speed of a perfection mortal shedding stage martial cultivator. Duan Lingtian activated his divine eye out of curiosity. At that moment he detected the heavenly harm guardian's cultivation base. Paramount mortal shedding stage? Duan Lingtian was shocked. He did not expect the heavenly harm guardian to have broken through as well. In fact, he had used his divine eye to detect the heavenly harm guardian when he first saw him when he first arrived at the latent dragon camp. At that time, the heavenly harm guardian was only on the perfection mortal shedding stage. The heavenly harm guardians left as quickly as they came. Just as Duan Lingtian regained his senses, he left again. What's going on? Isn't Lord Heavenly Harm Guardian stopping Duan Lingtian from leaving? Why aren't you stopping me now? The latent dragon camp members who had planned to watch the show were disappointed. Only Duan Lingtian knew that Xionghu or Jin Yuan Bao must have told the Heavenly Harm Guardian the reason why he left the latent dragon camp. How could the Heavenly Harm Guardian dare to stop the city governor of Mound Hill City from meeting him? After leaving the hidden dragon camp and arriving at the meeting room again, Duan Lingtian knew that he was right. Duan Lingtian, I want to accept you as my disciple. Are you willing? The city governor of Mound Hill City narrowed his eyes and asked Duan Lingtian directly. City Lord, what benefits will I get if I agree to become your disciple? Duan Lingtian asked directly when he heard the city governor of Mound Hill City's question. The heavenly leader guardian's expression changed as soon as he heard Duan Lingtian's words. He shouted angrily, Duan Lingtian, don't be arrogant. It's your blessing that the city governor is willing to accept you as his disciple. He did not expect Duan Lingtian to be so bold as to bargain with the city governor. Duan Lingtian ignored the heavenly leader guardian and continued to look at the city governor of Mound Hill City calmly. He seemed to be waiting for the city governor's reply. The city governor of Mound Hill City was stunned for a while before he asked with interest, what benefits do you want? City governor, you're really straightforward. Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up. I don't want much. I just hope that you can agree to a request of mine, city governor. Speak. The city governor of Mound Hill City said. City governor, I hope that you can protect Guoli so that she won't be sacrificed in the battle between the clans in Fuyu Town. Duan Lingtian said with a serious expression. He had nothing else to ask for from the city governor of Mound Hill City. Fuyu Town? The city governor of Mound Hill City frowned. Guoli is from Fuyu Town? As the city governor of Mound Hill City, he had some impression of Fuyu Town. Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded. Guoli is from the Gu clan in Fuyu Town. She's also the strongest person among the younger generation in Fuyu Town. The other two clans that are enemies with the Gu clan want her dead. Who is she to you? Why would you go to such lengths for her? The city governor of Mound Hill City had an ambiguous look in his eyes. She's my friend. I'm only helping her because I owe her a favor. Duan Lingtian said. Are you really just friends? The city governor of Mound Hill City had an ambiguous look in his eyes. Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded calmly. There was not even the slightest ripple in his heart. He was telling the truth. He did not have any feelings for Guoli. Heavenly leader guardian, send my order to Fuyu Town immediately. If anything happens to Guoli, the city governor's office of Mound Hill City will annihilate the two clans that are enemies with the Gu clan. The city governor of Mound Hill City looked at the heavenly leader guardian and ordered. Yes. The heavenly leader guardian immediately retreated and left the meeting hall. It was obvious that he was going to relay the city governor's order. At that moment, only Duan Lingtian and the city governor of Mound Hill City were left in the spacious meeting hall. Greetings, teacher. Duan Lingtian bowed to the city governor of Mound Hill City. Teacher? The city governor of Mound Hill City frowned. He did not expect Duan Lingtian to call him teacher. Teacher, master, although the two were extremely similar, there was also a huge difference. Compared to master, teacher was undoubtedly much more casual. Usually there could only be one master. Even if one wanted to have a second master, the first master had to agree. Otherwise it would be disrespectful. However, a teacher was different. A teacher was not so particular. As long as it was an elder who had taught and guided him, he could call him teacher. You have a master? After a while, the city governor of Mound Hill City asked as he relaxed his brows. No. Duan Lingtian shook his head. Then why don't you call me teacher instead of master? The city governor of Mound Hill City's tone was stern and dissatisfied as he asked. A teacher teaches and answers questions. In my eyes, a master is like a bright light in the night, someone who can guide me forward. My teacher, on the other hand, was someone who helped me during my growth. Duan Lingtian answered honestly. Because of that, in his heart, even if he had the city governor of Mound Hill City as his teacher, the city governor of Mound Hill City was only his teacher and not his master. The word master was too heavy. It seems like you're saying that I can't teach you? The city governor of Mound Hill City's eyes gleamed coldly, and his tone became deeper. If you can be the bright light that guides me forward, by then I'll naturally be willing to call you master. However, for now you're still my teacher. Facing the city governor of Mound Hill City, whose expression had turned extremely grave, Duan Lingtian's expression was as calm as usual. You can leave now. The city governor of Mound Hill City snorted. Yes. Duan Lingtian did not say much. After responding, he turned around and left the meeting hall. Seeing Duan Lingtian's silhouette disappear before his eyes, the gloominess on the city governor of Mound Hill City's face disappeared and was replaced with a smile. What a special little fellow. He killed a perfection mortal shedding stage martial cultivator with his intermediate mortal shedding stage cultivation base. It seems like this little fellow has quite a big secret. The city governor of Mound Hill City was almost mumbling to himself when he reached the end of his sentence. Guoli's matter has finally been resolved. On the way back to the latent dragon camp, Duan Lingtian had a smile on his face. He had finally repaid the favor he owed Guoli. He was free of debt. Currently, Duan Lingtian felt as if his body was as light as a swallow. I'll go to the Merit Pavilion to have a look 3 days later. After returning to the latent dragon camp, Duan Lingtian's heart jolted. 3 days later he would be able to exchange the points he had obtained in today's test for merit points. Then he would be able to exchange the merit points for some items in the city governor's estate. Perhaps he would be able to find something that he wanted. When Duan Lingtian entered the second level of the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda to continue cultivating, an order came out of the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City and was sent far away. It was sent all the way to Fuyu Town. Fuyu Town was also known as Fuyu Island. It was an island located not far away from the Dao Martial Saint Land. The Fuyu Island today was not peaceful. This was because a messenger had come from the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City to deliver the order from the city governor of Mound Hill City. Guoli, a disciple of the Gua clan, is a member of the latent dragon camp of the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City. If anything happens, the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City will step in and annihilate the 2 clans that are enemies of the Gua clan. These were the original words of the city governor of Mound Hill City. After the order was given, the entire Gua clan was in an uproar. Each and every one of them was extremely excited. The most outstanding disciple of the Gua clan was protected by the city governor of Mound Hill City. Unlike the Gua clan's excitement, the other 2 clans were gloomy as though they had just gone through a funeral. The city governor of Mound Hill City is protecting Guoli? They could not figure out why the city governor of Mound Hill City would protect Guoli. Investigate. Send someone to investigate. We must know why the city governor of Mound Hill City is protecting Guoli. At the same time, tell the spies in Mound Hill City to stop their actions and stop targeting Guoli. After the orders were passed down from the 2 clans, the people from the 2 clans began to make their way to the Dao Martial Saint Land. At the same time, the people from the Gua clan also left Fuyu Island. The Gua clan also wanted to know what was going on. When Guoli found out about all of this, it was already 3 days later. Master City Governor gave an order to protect me? Guoli was a little confused when she found out about this. However, she soon regained her senses. She knew all of this must have something to do with Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian, it's you. Is it? Guoli could not help but ask for confirmation when she saw Duan Lingtian walking out of cottage number 6 slowly. Huh. Duan Lingtian was stunned when he saw Guoli staring at him excitedly. He had just come out of the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda, so he did not know what Guoli meant. Chapter 1406. Duan Lingtian nodded when he knew Guoli was asking about the city governor of Mound Hill City protecting her. Thank you. Guoli thanked him sincerely with a grateful expression on her face. You've left the wooden house. Are you planning to go to the Merit Pavilion too? Duan Lingtian changed the topic and asked. Yes. Guoli nodded. I've already used the opportunity to go out once every 3 months. I wonder if I can still go out. Duan Lingtian suddenly thought of this problem. I heard. As long as you register with the steward and exchange for merit points at the Merit Pavilion, it's not considered going out. Guoli said. If that's the case, then there's no problem. Duan Lingtian smiled and then walked into the pavilion beside the high platform with Guoli. After registering with the Heavenly Harm Guardian, they left the Latent Dragon Camp. After leaving the Latent Dragon Camp, they went to the Merit Pavilion. The Merit Pavilion in the city governor's estate was an independent pavilion with 4 floors. The pavilion had an antique look and looked simple. As soon as they entered the first floor, Duan Lingtian saw a familiar figure walking toward them from the inside. Jin Yuan Bao? Senior brother Duan. At that moment, Jin Yuan Bao saw Duan Lingtian and a bright smile appeared on his face. Senior brother? Duan Lingtian and Guoli were stunned when they heard how Jin Yuan Bao addressed him. I'm 2 years younger than you and I'm not as powerful as you. Naturally, I should call you senior brother. Jin Yuan Bao smiled. Duan Lingtian just remembered that Jin Yuan Bao was also a disciple of the city governor of Mound Hill City like him. Junior brother Jin. A smile appeared on Duan Lingtian's face as well. Senior brother Duan, I've already exchanged for what I want. I'll take my leave first. Jin Yuan Bao bade farewell to Duan Lingtian and nodded at Guoli before leaving the Merit Pavilion. Duan Lingtian, did I hear that right? Jin Yuan Bao called you senior brother? Moreover, he admitted that his strength is inferior to yours? Guoli looked at Duan Lingtian in surprise. You fought him before? When Guoli learned that she was protected by the city governor of Mound Hill City, she knew Duan Lingtian had most likely become the disciple of the city governor of Mound Hill City and had asked the city governor for a favor. That favor was for the city governor of Mound Hill City to protect her. However, although she knew Duan Lingtian must have become the disciple of the city governor of Mound Hill City, she did not expect Jin Yuan Bao to address Duan Lingtian as senior brother. No. Duan Lingtian shook his head. No. Guoli wanted to ask more, but she was interrupted by Duan Lingtian. You'll know in a while. Guoli looked confused, but she didn't ask any more questions. 31 points? Are you sure? In front of the counter on the first floor of the Merit Pavilion, Guoli looked at the staff member in surprise. No. The staff member shook his head. The 3-person team you're in has obtained 93 points in the test 3 days ago. You've taken one of them, so you have 31 points. 31 points can be exchanged for 3,100 merit points. Do you want to exchange? The staff member asked. Wait. Guoli shook her head. Guoli shook her head. She couldn't react for a moment. I remember that our team of 3 got a total of 73 points. 93 points? Where did the extra 20 points come from? Suddenly, a thought flashed through Guoli's mind. She stared at Duan Lingtian next to her as if she had seen a ghost. Duan Lingtian, why you didn't kill that Perfection Mortal Shedding Stage Bandit, did you? Killing a Perfection Mortal Shedding Stage Bandit would give her 20 points. Guoli's breathing quickened as soon as she finished speaking. She stared at Duan Lingtian with her clear eyes, not missing any expression on Duan Lingtian's face. When she saw Duan Lingtian nodding his head, she completely confirmed it. Duan Lingtian, you. At that moment, Guoli really did not know what to say. While she was shocked, she could only smile wryly. She finally understood why Jin Yuan Bao addressed Duan Lingtian as his senior brother. Exchange them for merit points. Duan Lingtian reminded her with a faint smile. Okay. After Duan Lingtian's reminder, Guoli reacted and exchanged all 31 points for merit points. She now had a total of 3,100 merit points. After Guoli was done, Duan Lingtian followed suit and exchanged his merit points. The merit points are stored inside? Duan Lingtian was shocked when he looked at the crystal card in his hand. When he inserted his true energy into the crystal card, the number 3,100 would appear on it. It was the value of the merit points. There's a saint inscription inscribed on the crystal card. Guoli did not seem surprised at all as she explained to Duan Lingtian. Saint inscription? Does this mean that this is made by a saint inscription master? Duan Lingtian was even more shocked. As far as he knew, there was no saint inscription master in Mound Hill City. As Duan Lingtian voiced his doubts, Guoli smiled and said, Duan Lingdun, this crystal card is not made by the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City. It's not made by the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City? What do you mean? Duan Lingtian was stunned. This crystal card is from the 7th rated force above Mound Hill City. The merit points inside are also from that 7th rated force, Guoli explained. That 7th rated force is a powerful sect. Including Mound Hill City, the other 17 cities around it are also under the control of that sect. Just like the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City, the city governor's estate of the other 17 cities are also 8th rated forces. They each control an 8th grade Saint Stone reserve. Guoli continued, the 18 cities have to hand in a large amount of 7th grade Saint Stones and recommend young geniuses to that 7th rated sect every 3 years. That 7th rated sect will award a certain amount of merit points to each city based on the number of 7th grade Saint Stones handed in and the quality of the young geniuses recommended by each city. It said that the city governor's estate of each city can use merit points to borrow human rank primitive Saint grade martial tactics from that 7th rated sect and exchange them for human rank primitive Saint grade weapons and high grade Saint grade pills. Guoli finished in one breath. A 7th rated sect that controls 18 cities like Mound Hill City? A 7th rated sect that has mastered human rank primitive Saint grade martial tactics, human rank primitive Saint grade weapons and high grade Saint grade pills? Upon hearing Guoli's words, Duan Lingtian sorted out the information one by one. His heart was filled with shock. Duan Lingtian, with your talent, you'll definitely be recommended to a 7th rated sect by the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City. As for me, I'm afraid I'll never have that chance. Guoli had a self-deprecating look on her face when she reached the end of her sentence. Recommended to a 7th rated sect? Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up as anticipation filled his face. Naturally, he wanted to climb up the ladder since he came to the Dao Martial Saint Land. The higher he stood, the further he could see and the faster he could find his parents. Moreover, according to Huolao, if he wanted to return to Earth, he would have to become stronger and stand at the peak of this planet. To him, the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City was merely a springboard. Water would always flow downwards and men would always strive to climb higher. This was the truth that would never change. Let's go up to the 2nd floor and see what we can exchange our merit points for. Duan Lingtian changed the topic and suggested when he saw Guoli seemed a little disappointed. The 1st floor of the merit pavilion of the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City was the place to exchange merit points while the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th floors were the places to exchange merit points for things. When they arrived at the 2nd floor, Duan Lingtian realized it was the place to borrow Saint grade martial tactics and Dao methods. So many Saint tokens? Guoli could not help but exclaim out loud after walking around the 2nd floor. There were at least hundreds of Saint tokens that contained Saint grade martial tactics and Dao methods on the 2nd floor of the merit pavilion. Although the Guo clan that Guoli belonged to was a 9th rate force, they only had a few Saint tokens. Moreover, they were only human rank primitive Saint grade martial tactics and Dao methods. Among these Saint tokens, 90% of them are human rank primitive Saint grade martial tactics and Dao methods. The remaining 10% are human rank mediocre Saint grade martial tactics and Dao methods. Duan Lingtian also noticed this when he walked around the 2nd floor with Guoli. There was an old man walking around and patrolling on the 2nd floor of the merit pavilion. He did not say a word from the beginning until the end. Duan Lingtian knew very well that this old man must be the powerhouse who guarded the 2nd floor of the merit pavilion. Activating his divine eye, Duan Lingtian soon discovered the old man's cultivation base. It was at the paramount mortal shedding stage. Apart from the old man, there was a young man in silver armor standing at each of the 4 corners of the 2nd floor of the merit pavilion. His face was cold and his eyes were focused. 4 people on the perfection mortal shedding stage. Duan Lingtian could guess their identities just by looking at the silver armor on the 4 young men. They were all members of the 36 guardians of the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City. Senior, how do I get merit points to read the Saint grade martial tactics on the 2nd floor of the merit pavilion? Guoli asked when the old man approached Duan Lingtian and Guoli. Human rank primitive Saint grade martial tactics. 100 merit points to read it once. Human rank mediocre Saint grade martial tactics. 1000 merit points to save. You can't take the Saint token out of the merit pavilion. The old man said calmly. 1000 merit points to read it once? When Guoli heard this, she was so shocked that she cried out in alarm. In fact, even if one wanted to memorize the contents of a Saint token that contained the Saint grade martial tactic, one would need to memorize it at least 5 times before they could do so. The first time one read the Saint token, they would only be able to read the contents of the first stage, the fundamental awareness stage. If one wanted to read the contents of the second stage, the intermediate stage, one would have to cultivate the technique to the fundamental awareness stage, and so on. Due to this reason, one would need to read it at least 5 times to learn the entire set of Saint-grade martial tactics. It would cost 5,000 merit points to learn the entire set of human rank mediocre Saint-grade martial tactics. It was no wonder Guo Li was shocked. Duan Tian, on the other hand, had a smile on his face. 1,000 merit points to read it once? One must know that he was different from ordinary martial cultivators. An ordinary martial cultivator would need to read the Saint-grade martial tactics at least 5 times to read the contents of the Saint token. Chapter 1407. Silver Shirt. Without any hesitation, Duan Tian walked toward the few Saint tokens that contained the human rank mediocre Saint-grade martial tactic. His target was the human rank mediocre Saint-grade martial tactic that contained the Silver Shirt. The Silver Shirt was a defensive technique in the human rank mediocre Saint-grade martial tactic. At the same time, it was the upgraded version of the defensive technique he had cultivated, the Copper Shirt. Lin Qingrong had told him about it. Soon, Duan Tian found the human rank mediocre Saint-grade martial tactic that contained the Silver Shirt. Senior. Holding the Saint token, Duan Tian looked at the old man not far away. Whoosh. The old man disappeared from his spot and reappeared in front of Duan Tian with a crystal card in his hand. Duan Tian took out his crystal card as well. When they were on the first floor of the Merit Pavilion, Duan Tian had witnessed the staff transferring 3,100 merit points to his crystal card. Therefore, he followed suit and stuck his crystal card on the old man's crystal card. However, he had no idea what to do next. Duan Tian felt awkward. Infuse your spiritual energy into it and transfer 1,000 merit points to me. The old man reminded Duan Tian as though he could see the awkwardness on his face. Upon hearing that, Duan Tian immediately infused his spiritual energy into the crystal card in his hand. He wanted to transfer 1,000 merit points to the old man's crystal card. In a flash, the crystal card in his hand flashed and a ray of light shot into the old man's crystal card. As Duan Tian infused his true energy into the crystal card, he could see that the remaining limit on the card was 2,100 merit points. It's that simple? Duan Tian was surprised. He did not expect it to be so easy to transfer his crystal card to merit points. From now on, you can borrow the Saint token in your hand, the old man said. Duan Tian nodded and infused his spiritual energy into the Saint token in his hand. In an instant, the information within the Holy Scroll flooded into Duan Tian's mind, becoming a part of his memory that was difficult to separate. However, among the vast amount of information, only the information about the defensive technique, Silver Shirt, was useful to Duan Tian. The rest of the information was completely useless. In order not to arouse the suspicion of the old man, Duan Tian did not rush to put down the Holy Scroll. An ordinary martial cultivator would need at least 15 minutes to memorize all the moves in the Saint-grade martial tactic and cultivate them to the fundamental awareness stage. While Duan Tian pretended to be engrossed in the Saint Scroll, Guo Li did not stay idle. She picked a human rank mediocre Saint-grade martial tactic Jade Scroll and transferred 1,000 merit points to the old man. Then, she began to read the human rank mediocre Saint-grade martial tactic in the Saint token. After nearly a quarter of an hour, Duan Tian was the first to wake up. He calmly placed the holy jade slip back to its original position. Soon after, Guo Li woke up as well. At this moment, she had memorized all the moves in the human rank mediocre Saint-grade martial tactic to the fundamental awareness stage in her mind. As for the rest of the content, she could not see it for the time being. Due to this reason, she could only return the Holy Scroll first. After Duan Tian and Duan Tian returned the Holy Scrolls, they continued to walk up and soon arrived at the 3rd floor of the Merit Pavilion. The 3rd floor of the Merit Pavilion was where one could exchange merit points for Saint weapons. What was surprising was more than 90% of the Saint weapons placed on the 3rd floor of the Merit Pavilion were human rank prominent Saint weapons. All of them shone with a terrifying luster. Senior, how many merit points do I need to exchange for a human rank prominent Saint weapon? Guo Li asked the old man who was patrolling the 3rd floor of the Merit Pavilion. 2,000 merit points, the old man replied calmly. 2,000 merit points, Duan Tian said calmly. 2,000 merit points? Guo Li's eyes widened. So expensive? However, the old man did not answer her. Instead, he had an expression that said, If you think it's expensive, don't exchange for it. Although Guoli thought it was expensive, she still chose a human rank prominent saint weapon in the end and exchanged for it with her merit points. At this moment, only 100 merit points were left on the crystal card in her hand. It's really back to square one. Duan Lingtian shook his head when he saw the limit on the crystal card in Guoli's hand. Guoli, whose heart was bleeding, regained her senses when she heard Duan Lingtian's words. She asked, Duan Lingtian, what did you say about back to square one? What do you mean? Back to square one was a proverb from Hua Nation, where Duan Lingtian was from in his past life. Naturally, Guoli did not know about this proverb. It means back to square one. Duan Lingtian replied. Guoli could understand Duan Lingtian's words. Although Guoli's heart was bleeding, she still had a smile on her face when she looked at the human rank prominent saint weapon in her hand. The human rank prominent saint weapon in her hand was also a long whip. It was similar to her previous weapon. It was because of this human rank prominent saint weapon that she decided to exchange for it. Duan Lingtian, aren't you going to exchange for it? Guoli could not help but ask when she saw Duan Lingtian did not choose the human rank prominent saint weapon and did not even look at the human rank prominent saint weapons. Let's go to the 4th floor. Duan Lingtian said with a smile. Duan Lingtian, I saw a bow over there. It's a human rank prominent saint weapon. Are you sure you're not going to exchange for it? Guoli asked again. Duan Lingtian shook his head. What a joke. The sun-shooting bow in his hand was many times better than a human rank prominent saint weapon. There was no need for him to waste his merit points on a worse weapon. Since he did not intend to exchange for it, Duan Lingtian took the lead and left the 3rd floor of the merit points pavilion and went straight to the 4th floor. Guoli followed closely behind him. The 2nd floor of the merit points pavilion was where one could borrow saint grade martial tactics using merit points. The 3rd floor was where one could exchange for saint weapons using merit points. If he was not mistaken, the 4th floor should be where one could exchange for pills using merit points. As it turned out, Duan Lingtian was right. The 4th floor of the merit points pavilion was indeed where one could exchange for pills using merit points. 1-star saint grade pill? 2-star saint grade pill? When Duan Lingtian arrived at the 4th floor of the merit points pavilion, he had a certain understanding of saint grade pills. He knew that saint grade pills were divided into 9 grades from 1-star to 9-star. 1-star was the lowest grade while 9-star was the highest grade. The 4th floor of the merit points pavilion provided 1-star saint grade pills and 2-star saint grade pills that could be exchanged with merit points. It's indeed much more powerful than a royal grade pill. After probing the 1-star saint grade pill with his spiritual energy, Duan Lingtian easily discovered that the strength of the medicinal efficacy in it was much more powerful than a royal grade pill. Naturally, there was no such thing as a royal grade pill in the Dao Martial Saint Land. The same pill was called an innate pill in the Dao Martial Saint Land. One 1-star saint grade pill requires 20 merit points to exchange for. One 2-star saint grade pill requires 100 merit points. What a sky-high price. The corner of Duan Lingtian's mouth twitched slightly as he thought to himself. Whether it was 1-star saint grade pills or 2-star saint grade pills, there were healing pills and pills that could increase one's sensitivity to the heaven and earth spirit energy for a short period of time. The former was used to heal injuries. The latter was used to assist one's cultivation. 11 2-star healing pills and 10 2-star sensory pills. Duan Lingtian looked at the other old man who was patrolling on the 4th floor of the Merit Points Pavilion and said. When he first arrived at the 4th floor of the Merit Points Pavilion, he had already probed the old man with his divine eye. He knew this old man was at the paramount mortal shedding stage just like the other 2 floors below. The pills that Duan Lingtian chose were 2-star Saint grade pills that cost 100 merit points each. 21 pills were exactly 2,100 merit points. Duan Lingtian transferred the remaining merit points in his crystal card to the old man's crystal card and successfully obtained the Saint grade pills that he wanted. A 2-star Saint grade pill that's 2 grades higher than a royal grade pill. I wonder how strong the medicinal efficacy is. After Duan Lingtian put away the 21 pills, he was eager to return home. Right now he only wanted to go back and test the medicinal efficacy of a 2-star Saint grade pill. The corner of Guoli's mouth twitched slightly when she saw how extravagant Duan Lingtian was. At the same time, she used her remaining 100 merit points to exchange for 5 1-star Saint grade pills. 3 1-star healing pills and 2 1-star sensory pills. After exchanging everything, Duan Lingtian and Guoli prepared to leave. Both of them departed from the 4th floor of the Merit Points Pavilion and returned the way they came. They stopped at the staircase on the 3rd floor of the Merit Points Pavilion. This was because they had bumped into someone they knew. Junior Sister Guo, congratulations. I can't believe you're protected by Master City Governor. The person Duan Lingtian and Guo Li met was Zheng Jian, the person who ranked 5th among the 13 gangsters in the latent dragon camp. At this moment, Zheng Jian was congratulating Guo Li with a smile on his face. However, Guo Li ignored him. Guo Li's behavior caused the smile on Zheng Jian's face to freeze completely. As the smile on Zheng Jian's face disappeared, he shifted his gaze from Guo Li to Duan Lingtian. Killing intent filled his body. He could not wait to kill Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian looked at Zheng Jian indifferently. He was not afraid at all. Duan Lingtian, if you're still a man, when we return to the latent dragon camp, you'll challenge me and snatch my cottage number 5. Zheng Jian glared at Duan Lingtian coldly. His true energy voice transmission that was filled with provocation entered Duan Lingtian's ears in a timely manner. Just from Zheng Jian's words, one could tell that he was worried. He did not know that Duan Lingtian had been taken in as a disciple by the city governor of Mound Hill City. That was the truth. Since returning to the latent dragon camp 3 days ago, Zheng Jian had not come out of his cottage. He only left the latent dragon camp today because he had to go to the Merit Pavilion. During this process, he heard that the city governor of Mound Hill City had announced that he would protect Guo Li. As for the news that Duan Lingtian had become the disciple of the city governor of Mound Hill City, he did not know about it yet. Otherwise he would not have the guts to challenge Duan Lingtian. I'll wait for you in the latent dragon camp. Duan Lingtian's expression did not change. However, there were flames of anger burning deep in his eyes. It was enough to show his current emotions. Even a person made of clay had a temper. This Zheng Jian had challenged him time and time again. Did he really think that he was a pushover who could be bullied at will? I hope you can remember what you said now. Don't wait for me to return and find you hiding in your wooden house again. Chapter 1408. After taking a deep look at Zheng Jian, Duan Lingtian continued to walk down and left the Merit Pavilion. During this process, Guo Li turned around and looked at Zheng Jian's back with pity in her eyes. Even Jin Yuan Bao, who ranked 3rd among the 13 gangsters, had to address Duan Lingtian as senior brother. How dare Zheng Jian provoke Duan Lingtian? She could not help but admire Zheng Jian's courage. Of course she did not remind Zheng Jian. She did not have a good impression of Zheng Jian at all. After leaving the Merit Pavilion, Duan Lingtian and Guo Li returned to the latent dragon camp. However, they were not in a hurry to return to the wooden house. Instead, they stood in front of the wooden house as if they were waiting for something. The two people's movements quickly attracted the attention of many people. What are Duan Lingtian and Guo Li doing? I don't know. They must have just returned from the Merit Pavilion. They must have exchanged many things. Shouldn't they be going back to the wooden house to count the things they exchanged? The latent dragon camp members in the dilapidated wooden house were confused. It was not until 15 minutes later, when a voice was heard from the entrance of the latent dragon camp, that they finally reacted. Duan Lingtian, you've got guts. Zheng Jian smirked when he walked into the latent dragon camp. He then leaped up to the high platform and confronted Duan Lingtian. Waves of battle intent rose from his body. However, Duan Lingtian did not intend to respond to him. He only looked at him calmly. Guo Li retreated to the side and looked at the two of them calmly. I was wondering who Duan Lingtian was waiting for. It turns out that he's waiting for Zheng Jian. When did they start fighting? Many people were shocked. However, more of them were excited as they waited to watch the show. Duan Lingtian, I'll let you know soon. You're nothing in my eyes. Don't think that you can look down on all the people on the Mastery Mortal Shedding stage just because you defeated a few people who have just broken through to the Mastery Mortal Shedding stage. Seeing that Duan Lingtian was ignoring him, Zheng Jian's face darkened completely. I don't know about the others at the Mastery Mortal Shedding stage, but I really don't think much of you, Zheng Jian. Duan Lingtian finally opened his mouth. His tone was calm, as if he was talking about something unimportant. Duan Lingtian's words caused an uproar. Other than Guo Li, who knew that Duan Lingtian was telling the truth, the others thought that Duan Lingtian was being too arrogant. Isn't this Duan Lingtian a little too arrogant? Zheng Jian's cultivation base has long broken through to the Mastery Mortal Shedding stage. His strength is far from what Ho Lin and Zhang Jilong, who have just broken through to the Mastery Mortal Shedding stage, can compare to. If he thinks Zheng Jian is as easy to deal with as Ho Lin and Zhang Jilong, then he's gravely mistaken. I'd like to see how he'll embarrass himself later. The latent dragon camp members at the dilapidated wooden house discussed among themselves. More than 90% of them did not think Duan Lingtian would win. Zhu Lang, I know you're close to Duan Ling Tian, but he's destined to be unlucky today since he's going up against my cousin Zheng Jian. I suggest you go back to the wooden house so that you won't be unhappy to see him injured. Hu Jie walked to the front of Zhu Lang's dilapidated wooden house and mocked him. We don't know who's going to win yet. Zhu Lang smirked. He knew Duan Lingtian's strength very well. Putting everything else aside, if he and Guoli had not held Duan Lingtian back during the test set by the city governor of Mound Hill City 3 days ago, he would have definitely ranked first. Due to this reason he had confidence in Duan Lingtian. He believed that Zheng Jian was no match for Duan Lingtian. What? Don't tell me you think Duan Lingtian can defeat my cousin Zheng Jian? Hu Jie smiled. It was a mocking smile. I don't know about the other mastery mortal shedding stage powerhouses, but I really don't take you seriously, Zheng Jian. On the high platform, Duan Lingtian's words kept echoing in Zheng Jian's ears. His body began to tremble violently due to his extreme rage. His eyes turned crimson red and he was filled with rage. He was on the verge of collapsing. Finally, his rage reached its peak and he completely broke down. Duan Lingtian, I'll show everyone how I, the person you don't take seriously, will throw you into the manure pit. Zheng Jian roared in rage. His entire body seemed to have transformed into an agile leopard as he pounced toward Duan Lingtian. The air seemed to have been sucked out wherever he passed. The onlookers held their breaths as they stared at the scene before them. However, what happened in the next moment left them all dumbfounded. Goodness, what did they just see? Bang! A loud noise came from the high platform, accompanied by a painful groan. In the next moment, everyone saw Zheng Jian fly out like an arrow from a bow, all the way out of the high platform in just a single exchange of blows. A moment later, Zheng Jian flew above the manure pit uncontrollably. Seeing that he was about to fly over the manure pit and land on the dilapidated wooden house, a purple figure appeared next to Zheng Jian out of thin air. Bang! Another loud noise came. Apart from Guoli, the crowd could not see what happened at all. Zheng Jian's body suddenly fell. As the purple figure disappeared, Zheng Jian's body landed heavily in the manure pit. Yellow and white matter splashed everywhere. All of a sudden, the latent dragon camp members who were near the manure pit retreated. Everyone was stunned. They stared blankly at the scene before them. They did not regain their senses for a long time. Did Zheng Jian pass out just like Ho Lin did last time? After waiting for a while, many people had a strange expression on their faces when they saw Zheng Jian lying in the manure pit without making any sound. Even more people were looking at the purple figure on the high platform in shock. Duan Lingtian's ability is so powerful? Could it be that he has broken through to the mastery mortal shedding stage and his ability is comparable to a powerhouse on the perfection mortal shedding stage? The news that Duan Lingtian's cultivation base was only on the intermediate mortal shedding stage when he defeated Ho Lin and Zhang Jilong had spread throughout the latent dragon camp. All of the latent dragon camp members knew that Duan Lingtian had the ability to defeat opponents whose level was higher than his. However, when they saw Duan Lingtian send Zheng Jian flying with just one blow and knocked him out with his second attack, they thought Duan Lingtian had broken through to the mastery mortal shedding stage and possessed an ability that was not inferior to an ordinary powerhouse on the perfection mortal shedding stage. After all, Zheng Jian was different from Ho Lin and Zhang Jilong. His cultivation base had broken through to the mastery mortal shedding stage a long time ago. Among the people present, there were only 3 people who were not surprised by this outcome. They were Guoli Zhu Lang, and the Heavenly Harm Guardian who was standing on top of the pavilion. This Duan Lingtian is really unreasonable, the Heavenly Harm Guardian shook his head. The Heavenly Harm Guardian shook his head. However, Zheng Jian was asking for trouble. Of all people he had to provoke this malefic cousin brother Zheng Jian. Hu Jie snapped back to his senses and cried out with a terrible expression. He then flew out and scooped Zheng Jian out of the manure pit. As soon as Hu Jie placed Zheng Jian on the ground, he began to move. He opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of yellow and white matter that landed on Hu Jie's face. Blurg! Hu Jie was so disgusted that he immediately vomited all over Zheng Jian's face. Zheng Jian had just regained his senses. When he realized he had fallen into the manure pit, he did not know where to vent his anger. Now that Hu Jie had spat on his face, his expression changed drastically. He slapped his palm out of reflex and sent Hu Jie flying with a loud bang. Boom! Hu Jie flew far away and crashed hard on the ground. Blood kept flowing out of the corner of his mouth and he stopped breathing completely. Whoosh! Just when everyone thought Hu Jie was innocent, a figure appeared next to him out of thin air. After checking Hu Jie's breath, his expression changed drastically. Lord Heavenly Harm Guardian, this is... Many people's hearts skipped a beat when they saw this. Zheng Jian, you killed Hu Jia. The Heavenly Harm Guardian said coldly as he looked at Zheng Jian with a grave expression. Hu Jia is dead? At this moment, Zheng Jian finally regained his senses. His expression changed drastically when he heard the Heavenly Harm Guardian's words. The reason his expression changed was not because Hu Jia was his distant cousin. It was because of the Latent Dragon Camp's rules. The Latent Dragon Camp had a rule that members of the Latent Dragon Camp were not allowed to kill or cripple each other. Otherwise they would be punished. Those who killed would be severely punished and would be expelled from the Latent Dragon Camp and the city governor's estate. Before the others could react, the Heavenly Harm Guardian grabbed Hu Jia's body and flew toward Zheng Jian. He extended his other hand and grabbed Zheng Jian like an eagle catching a chick. Zheng Jian killed Hu Jia, who's also a member of the Latent Dragon Camp. This is a heinous crime. Send him to the punishment camp immediately. The Heavenly Harm Guardian left with Hu Jia's body and Zheng Jian. After a while, the people in the Latent Dragon Camp finally regained their senses. Hu Jia? He's dead? Hu Jia seems to be Zheng Jian's distant cousin. Zheng Jian is really ruthless to be able to kill him. I think he didn't even realize it at that time. Hu Jia's ability is far weaker than him. How could Hu Jia withstand his palm strike? The group of Latent Dragon Camp members discussed among themselves. They all knew that Zheng Jian was going to be out of luck this time. There's a rule in the Latent Dragon Camp. Anyone who kills another member of the Latent Dragon Camp will be severely punished and expelled from the Latent Dragon Camp and the city governor's mansion. Do you think Zheng Jian will really be expelled from the Latent Dragon Camp and the city governor's mansion? I think so. I don't think so. No matter what, Zheng Jian is one of the 13 gangsters. His talent and ability are extraordinary. I don't think he'll be expelled from the Latent Dragon Camp and the city governor's estate just like that. If Zheng Jian isn't expelled, won't the Latent Dragon Camp's rules be just for show? Who's going to obey them in the future? The Latent Dragon Camp members were divided into two groups and began to argue. At that moment, not many people paid attention to Duan Lingtian. Even Duan Lingtian did not expect that to happen. You brought this upon yourself. Guo Li snorted. Upon hearing Guo Li's words, the corner of Duan Lingtian's mouth twitched unconsciously. Chapter 1409. Zheng Jian was taken away by the Heavenly Harm Guardian to the punishment camp in the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City. However, he did not come back. Things were changing in the Latent Dragon Camp. Li Han, the first person among the 13 gangsters whom Duan Lingtian defeated when he first arrived at the Latent Dragon Camp, had successfully broken through to the Mastery Mortal Shedding stage. He wanted to seek revenge from Duan Lingtian as soon as he came out of closed-door cultivation. However, when he heard that Zheng Jian was defeated by Duan Lingtian, he completely dismissed the thought. However, he still managed to become one of the 13 gangsters with his own strength. The ranking of the 13 gangsters changed as well. Apart from the top 4 who remained unchanged, Duan Lingtian replaced Zheng Jian, who was originally ranked 5th and moved into Wooden House number 5. Zhang Jilong moved into Wooden House number 6. Guo Li moved into Wooden House number 7. The owner of Wooden House number 8 was Ho Lin, while the owner of Wooden House number 9 was Li Han. As for the owner of Wooden House number 10, it changed a few times within a month. It was only confirmed when another Latent Dragon Camp member broke through to the Mastery Mortal Shedding stage. At the same time, the news that Duan Lingtian had become the disciple of the city governor of Mound Hill City began to spread. So Duan Lingtian has become Master City Governor's disciple. To be able to become Master City Governor's disciple after Xionghu and Jin Yuan Bao, this means that Duan Lingtian's ability has even surpassed Sun Gu, who's ranked 4th among the 13 gangsters. If he knew Duan Lingtian had become Master City Governor's disciple, I'm afraid Zheng Jian wouldn't have dared to provoke Duan Lingtian even if he was given 10 guts. Life is unpredictable. Perhaps, even Zheng Jian himself didn't expect that he would be expelled from the Latent Dragon Camp and the city governor's estate for killing his distant cousin. I heard. Zheng Jian was barely alive when he was expelled from the city governor's estate. The punishment camp's method is too cruel. I think he's lucky that he's still alive. The rundown wooden huts in the Latent Dragon Camp were always lively. Because Duan Lingtian had defeated Zheng Jian in one move, Ho Lin and Zhang Jilong's fear of Duan Lingtian deepened. Now that they heard that Duan Lingtian had become the disciple of the city lord, they completely dispelled any thoughts of making an enemy out of Duan Lingtian. especially Ho Lin. Although Duan Lingtian had once thrown him into a septic tank and humiliated him, facing the current Duan Lingtian, he did not have the slightest desire for revenge. A month had passed since Jing Jian was expelled from the latent dragon camp and the city governor's mansion. On this day, the leader of the 13 gangsters, Ling Yun, left Wooden House No. 1. As for what he was going to do, everyone knew. An hour later, Ling Yun returned. Even though his expression was still cold, his eyes were filled with excitement. It seems like Ling Yun passed the test that teacher set for him. Duan Lingtian thought to himself when he saw the joy in Ling Yun's eyes as he walked out of the pavilion on the side of the high platform. He had entered the pavilion to collect his holy stones. Now that he was ranked 5th among the 13 gangsters, he could collect 900 8th-grade holy stones every month. Duan Lingtian, although you're older than me and you're the disciple of Master First, if you want me to call you senior brother, you'll have to defeat me first. When Duan Lingtian looked at Ling Yun was also looking at him and communicating with him using his true chi through voice transmission. Duan Lingtian only smiled faintly and returned to Wooden House No. 5 directly. After returning to the Wooden House, he took out the 7 Treasures exquisite pagoda and entered it directly with his mind. He then went to the 2nd floor. After going to the 2nd floor, he continued to cultivate. There was a layer of silver luster on his body as if he was wearing a silver suit. As the upgraded version of the copper shirt, it's been very smooth for me to cultivate the silver shirt. Now, I've cultivated it to the competent stage. Duan Lingtian had a satisfied smile on his face. A month had passed outside and 3 months had passed in the 7 Treasures exquisite pagoda. In 3 months, Duan Lingtian had successfully cultivated the silver shirt to the competent stage. The competent stage was the 3rd stage of the Saint grade martial tactic. The power of the silver shirt that had been cultivated to the advanced stage was equivalent to the copper shirt that had been cultivated to the 5th stage, the impeccable level. I can feel that. Now, once I perform the silver shirt, the power of my body will be much stronger. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. In another month, I'll have been in the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City for half a year. Duan Lingtian sighed as he thought to this point. Of course, the half a year he was talking about was the time in the outside world. The time in the 7 Treasures exquisite pagoda was much longer than the outside world. That's right. Suddenly, Duan Lingtian seemed to have recalled something. He put away the silver shirt and left the 2nd floor of the 7 Treasures exquisite pagoda. He arrived at the 1st floor of the 7 Treasures exquisite pagoda. Hua Lao. Duan Lingtian looked at Hua Lao, who was sitting cross-legged, and greeted him. What's the matter? Hua Lao opened his eyes and asked. Hua Lao, I want to ask you. Does my growth ring grow with the passage of time in the outside world or in the 7 Treasures exquisite pagoda? Duan Lingtian had thought of this earlier. If his growth ring grew with the passage of time in the 7 Treasures exquisite pagoda, he would be 36 years old now. If it grew with the passage of time in the outside world, he would still be 35 years old. When he first met Lin Qingrong and Guoli, he seemed to have just turned 35 years old. Your growth ring grows with the passage of time in the outside world? The passage of time in the outside world is normal? You can think of it that way. The extra time in the 7 Treasures exquisite pagoda is equivalent to stealing, so it won't affect your growth ring. Walao said. Stealing? Walao, you mean? When I was in the 7 Treasures exquisite pagoda, my growth ring didn't change. Duan Lingtian took a deep breath and tried to suppress his agitated emotions. Yes. Walao nodded. Since you came to the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City, your growth ring has only grown for half a month. This half a month is the time you spend in the outside world for the past half a year. I've been in the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City for half a year. In the past half a year, other than the last time I went out for 10 days, I only spent 5 days in the outside world. Duan Lingtian's eyes narrowed as he muttered, if that's the case, won't my growth ring grow very slowly? That's right. Hua Lao nodded. Your growth ring grows with the passage of time in the outside world. When you were in the 7 Treasures exquisite pagoda, your growth ring didn't change. Based on the fact that you've only spent 15 days in the outside world in the past half a year. 12 years have passed in the outside world and your growth ring has only grown by 1 ring, which means your age has only increased by 1 year. Hua Lao continued. Boom. Hua Lao's words were like a clap of thunder. Duan Lingtian was so shocked that he could not regain his senses for a long time. Based on the time he had spent in the outside world in the past half a year, 12 years, and his growth ring had only grown by 1 ring? Isn't this too much? Duan Lingtian muttered to himself with a blank expression on his face. Based on this calculation, my growth ring has only grown by 5 rings after 60 years in the outside world. At that time I'll only be 40 years old? The corner of Duan Lingtian's mouth twitched when he thought of this. In fact, in the Dao Martial Saint land, those below the age of 40 were considered young people. Based on the time he had spent in the outside world in the past half a year, he would only be considered as a young person after 60 years? At this moment, Duan Lingtian deeply realized how extraordinary the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda was. The 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda was indeed a top celestial supreme treasure. It could steal the good fortune of heaven and earth and steal the cycle of time. In the past half a year, I've consumed 10 2-star sensory pills to increase my sensitivity to the heaven and earth spirit energy. My cultivation has improved tremendously. My egg-sized Qi is almost full now. Although I don't have any 2-star sensory pills now, I'll be able to fill my Qi in a month's time with the help of the 32 saint veins in my body to absorb the heaven and earth spirit energy to cultivate. Duan Lingtian continued to mutter to himself. The next breakthrough would be to break through to the Mastery Mortal Shedding stage. Once he broke through to the Mastery Mortal Shedding stage, his Qi would transform again and become bigger. At that time, the transformed and enlarged Qi would be able to store more true energy. Not only that, after his Qi metamorphosed and expanded, he would also open more Saint Meridians and open more Saint Meridians. The increase of Saint Veins would affect the speed of the true energy in his body, directly affecting his strength. With the true energy in my Qi, I'm confident I can defeat any martial or Dao cultivator at the Mastery Mortal Shedding stage even if I don't use the silver shirt. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. Currently he was only a martial cultivator at the Intermediate Mortal Shedding stage. Once I break through to the Perfection Mortal Shedding stage, even if I've just broken through, I'm confident I can defeat most martial and Dao cultivators at the Perfection Mortal Shedding stage with the help of the silver shirt. Duan Lingtian was filled with confidence. After taking a deep breath and calming himself down, Duan Lingtian sat cross-legged in the air and began to cultivate. 9 Dragons War Sovereign Technique, 9 Dragons Form. As he cultivated the mental cultivation method in his body, the heaven and earth spirit energy in the air and saint stones were continuously absorbed into his body. After the heaven and earth spirit energy entered his body, it was transported by the 9 dragons and turned into true energy that merged with his Qi. With this cycle, the true energy in his Qi continued to increase. Soon, a month had passed in the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda. At this moment, the Qi in between Duan Lingtian's brows was finally filled to the brim with true energy. My true energy is now full. Now I can try to open up a bigger Qi. Duan Lingtian opened his eyes and a bright light flashed within. Then he closed his eyes again and continued to cultivate. Chapter 14:10. Boom. Along with his Qi expanding to the limit like a balloon before exploding, Duan Lingtian felt a wave of dizziness. However, when he regained his senses, a look of joy appeared on his face. My Qi. It's so big now? Duan Lingtian noticed that his Qi had changed, completely changed, and became extremely exaggerated. Previously, his Qi was only the size of an egg. Now, his Qi was as big as a basketball on Earth in his previous life. The true energy that had exploded his egg-sized Qi only occupied a corner of his basketball-sized Qi. It did not seem worth mentioning at all. However, Duan Lingtian knew he had taken another step forward. He had broken through half of the Mastery Mortal Shedding stage. The remaining half was to open up Saint Veins. I opened up 15 Saint Veins when I was on the early Mortal Shedding stage. I opened up another 17 Saint Veins when I was on the Intermediate Mortal Shedding stage. By right, I should be able to open up at least 18 Saint Veins now that I've broken through to the Mastery Mortal Shedding stage. Duan Lingtian took a deep breath when he thought of this. Let's hope there's an accident. The so-called accident referred to the fact that Duan Lingtian was able to open more than 18 Saint Veins. It was similar to when he opened up more than 16 Saint Veins when he was on the Intermediate Mortal Shedding stage. Due to the fact that Duan Lingtian had experienced it twice in the past, it was smooth sailing for him to open his Saint Veins again. However, it would still take him some time. Half a month later, Duan Lingtian, who had opened up more Saint Veins, stopped when he felt he could no longer open up more Saint Veins. How many Saint Veins have I opened up? At this moment, Duan Lingtian finally had the mood to check the number of Saint Veins he had opened up in his body. After counting the number of Saint Veins he had opened up, Duan Lingtian's body began to tremble violently due to excitement. I didn't count wrongly, right? Taking a deep breath, Duan Lingtian excitedly observed the extra saint veins that he had opened after breaking through to the mastery mortal shedding stage. After counting back and forth a few times, Duan Lingtian finally confirmed it. He did not count wrongly. 20. He actually opened up 20 more saint veins. Duan Lingtian couldn't help but feel excited. Initially, he had thought he would only be able to open up 19 saint veins at most. Who knew he would be able to open up 20 more saint veins than he had expected? In addition to the original 32 saint veins, I now have a total of 52 saint veins. In fact, an ordinary paramount mortal shedding stage powerhouse who could open more than 50 saint veins in their body was considered to have the talent to break through to the saint stage and become a saint stage powerhouse. Duan Lingtian was only at the mastery mortal shedding stage, but he had already opened 52 saint veins. In the future, even if there's no accident, I'll be able to open up at least 21 saint veins when I'm at the perfection mortal shedding stage and 22 saint veins when I'm at the paramount mortal shedding stage. The moment Duan Lingtian thought of this, he began to feel excited again. In other words, even if there's no accident in the future, I'll be able to open up at least 94 saint veins? I still remember. Huolao said that even the great sage equal to heaven, Sun Wukong, only opened up 93 saint veins in the ancient myths on earth in my past life. I can open up more saint veins than him? Duan Lingtian gasped. Although he had opened up more saint veins, it did not mean he could win against those who had opened up fewer saint veins. However, Duan Lingtian was still elated to be able to surpass Sun Wukong in this aspect. The moment Duan Lingtian thought of this, he became even more excited. He could not help but feel excited. Currently, he had only broken through to the mastery mortal shedding stage, but the number of saint veins in his body was more than many martial and Dao cultivators at the paramount mortal shedding stage. Right now, he only needed a blink of an eye to circulate the true energy in his sea of qi to the surface of his body. With just a thought, his true energy appeared instantly. Silver shirt. With just a thought, the true energy in Duan Lingtian's sea of qi instantly flowed through the 52 saint veins and spread throughout his body. It was as though he was wearing a shiny silver shirt. In the next second, he casually threw a punch. His true energy shot out like a gigantic dragon and crashed into the wall in the distance, creating a series of loud noises. During this process, the air seemed to have been sucked out of the places where the gigantic dragon passed. What a powerful strength! Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up. With my current strength, even if I don't use the strange pupil, there shouldn't be many martial and Dao cultivators at the perfection mortal shedding stage who's a match for me. I'm not afraid even if I have to face Su Qi. Su Qi was the disciple of the city governor of Mound Hill City. His cultivation base was at the peak of the perfection mortal shedding stage. More than a month ago, he defeated Ling Yun, the leader of the Latent Dragon Camp's 13 gangsters, in 3 moves. One could see how powerful his strength was. After breaking through his cultivation base, Duan Lingtian cultivated for another half a month. Apart from consolidating his cultivation base at the mastery mortal shedding stage, he also accumulated some true energy in his basketball-sized sea of qi. There are still 10 days left in the outside world. It's time to collect the Saint Stones again. 10 days outside is equivalent to a month in the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda. It's just right for me to cultivate my martial arts techniques. In the following month, Duan Lingtian began to cultivate the techniques in the Saint Grade martial tactic Colossal Aerolite Arrow. He mainly cultivated the offensive technique, Aerolite Strike, and the movement technique Body and Arrow Synchronization. Aerolite Strike was Duan Lingtian's most powerful attack technique at the moment. Body and arrow synchronization was also the technique that maximized his speed. I've finally broken through. A month later, Duan Lingtian stopped what he was doing. He was pleasantly surprised. Heaven rewarded those who persevered. With Duan Lingtian's perseverance, he had finally cultivated the offensive technique, Aerolite Strike, in the Colossal Aerolite Arrow to the competent stage. The competent stage was the 3rd stage of the Saint Grade martial tactic. The Colossal Aerolite Arrow is a human rank prominent Saint Grade martial tactic. The power of the offensive technique, Aerolite Strike, recorded in it, far surpasses the offensive techniques in the human rank primitive and human rank mediocre Saint Grade martial tactics. According to my calculations, the Aerolite Strike that has been cultivated to the 3rd stage, the competent stage, is comparable to the offensive techniques in the human rank mediocre Saint Grade martial tactics that have been cultivated to the 5th stage, the impeccable stage. In Mound Hill City, apart from teacher, I'm afraid not many people have access to human-rank mediocre Saint-grade martial tactics. Therefore, even Su Qi must not have cultivated a human-rank mediocre Saint-grade martial tactic. Duan Lingtian's eyes shone brightly when he thought of this. Unless Su Qi has broken through to the paramount mortal shedding stage. Otherwise, I'm confident I can defeat him. The breakthrough of the offensive technique, Aerolite Strike, in the colossal Aerolite Arrow gave Duan Lingtian great confidence. Now, apart from those saint beasts and savage beasts at the perfection mortal shedding stage who have powerful bodies, human martial and Dao cultivators at the perfection mortal shedding stage should be no match for me. Duan Lingtian's confidence grew as he muttered to himself. It's a pity that I haven't broken through to the body and arrow synchronization. Otherwise, my ability would have been elevated to another level. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. As the saying went, a man whose heart is never content is like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. It was a perfect description of Duan Lingtian. I'll go collect the Saint Stone. With just a thought, Duan Lingtian left the Seven Treasures exquisite pagoda and walked out of the wooden house in high spirits. He headed to the pavilion at the side of the high platform to collect the Saint Stone. After receiving the Saint Stone from the Heavenly Harm Guardian, Duan Lingtian expressed his gratitude and turned to leave the pavilion. This Duan Lingtian seems to be a little different compared to a month ago. I can't put my finger on it though. The Heavenly Harm Guardian shook his head as he watched Duan Lingtian's silhouette leaving. That's right. I almost forgot. All of a sudden, the Heavenly Harm Guardian seemed to have recalled something. His eyes gleamed as he sent a true energy voice transmission out of the pavilion and into Duan Lingtian's ears. Duan Lingtian, Lord City Governor has ordered that you can cultivate by his side after you come out of closed-door cultivation. Right now, Ling Yun, Jianghu and Jin Yuan Bao are also cultivating by Lord City Governor's side. The Heavenly Harm Guardian reminded him. Cultivating by teacher's side? Duan Lingtian was stunned. He turned around and looked at the Heavenly Harm Guardian in the pavilion. He asked through true energy voice transmission, "You mean, I can enter and leave the latent dragon camp at will?" Yes. The Heavenly Harm Guardian nodded. Half a month ago, Lord City Governor ordered that you Ling Yun, Xionghu and Jin Yuan Bao can enter and leave the latent dragon camp and the City Governor's estate at will. I didn't expect that having a teacher would bring me such benefits. Duan Lingtian smiled faintly and left the latent dragon camp to look for his teacher, the City Governor of Mound Hill City. As the City Governor of Mound Hill City, he had a huge independent mansion in the City Governor's estate. The front and back courtyards were as big as the soccer fields on Earth where Duan Lingtian was from in his past life. Of course, it was a regular giant soccer field. Teacher. Duan Lingtian bowed when he saw the City Governor of Mound Hill City again. When they heard how Duan Lingtian addressed the City Governor of Mound Hill City, the expressions of the three people standing behind the City Governor changed slightly. One must know that when they acknowledged the City Governor of Mound Hill City as their teacher, they would address him as Master. Although Master and Teacher had the same meaning in general, there was a huge difference when it was broken down into details. Usually, only registered disciples would address the City Governor as Teacher. However, as far as they knew, Duan Lingtian's treatment in the City Governor's estate was no different from theirs. It did not seem like he was just a registered disciple. Yes. When the City Governor of Mound Hill City responded with a smile, Duan Lingtian also noticed the three people standing behind him. They were Ling Yun, Xionghu and Jin Yuan Bao, who were ranked first, second and third among the 13 gangsters. I'm discussing martial arts with them. You're here just in time to listen. The City Governor of Mound Hill City said. Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded. Chapter 1411. Duan Lingtian gained a new understanding of the Saint-grade martial tactic when he listened to the City Governor of Mound Hill City's discussion. In fact, he had learned about the Saint-grade martial tactic through the Saint token in the past. The things he learned were rigid and were not as vivid as the City Governor of Mound Hill City's explanation. No wonder there's a Saint token in the Dao Martial Saint land and so many people want to have a master. They want to have a master not only to have a backer but also to improve their strength. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. For the next period of time, Duan Lingtian was not in a hurry to return to the latent dragon camp. Instead, he stayed in the mansion of the City Governor of Mound Hill City. The mansion of the City Governor of Mound Hill City did not lack anything. Moreover, the cultivation environment was even better than the latent dragon camp. According to Jin Yuan Bao, he did not want to return to the latent dragon camp after staying here for a few days. Today the four of you will decide who's the strongest in front of me. In the Dao Martial Saint Land, the strong are respected. All of you will be ranked according to your strength. Based on your ranking, you'll be ranked according to your ranking, the city governor of Mound Hill City said to Duan Ling Tian and the other three. Among the four of them, apart from Jin Yuan Bao who addressed Duan Ling Tian and Ling Yun as senior brothers, the other three had never addressed each other as senior brothers. None of them addressed themselves as junior brothers as well. The city governor of Mound Hill City noticed this and planned to let Duan Ling Tian and the other three determine their junior brothers today. Master, let me go first. If Jianghu can defeat me, I'm willing to be your little junior brother. Jin Yuan Bao took the initiative to volunteer. All right. The city governor of Mound Hill City nodded. Then he stood aside with Duan Ling Tian and Ling Yun as they watched Jin Yuan Bao and Jianghu who were confronting each other. They were on the verge of a fight. Jin Yuan Bao, you're still the same as before. You don't give in to me at all. Jianghu was not surprised that Jin Yuan Bao wanted to challenge him. Instead, he looked at Jin Yuan Bao solemnly, ready to deal with him at any time. Although his ranking among the latent dragon camp's 13 gangsters was higher than Jin Yuan Bao's, his strength was not much stronger than Jin Yuan Bao. Every time the outcome would only be decided after 100 moves. After breaking through to the Mastery Mortal Shedding stage, Duan Ling Tian discovered a problem. Even if he did not activate the strange pupil, he could still clearly see the movements of Jin Yuan Bao and Jianghu when they were fighting. It seems like my body has become stronger after breaking through to the Mastery Mortal Shedding stage. My organs have also become different from ordinary Mastery Mortal Shedding stage martial cultivators. Duan Ling Tian secretly guessed. Duan Ling Tian could not think of a second explanation. Jin Yuan Bao and Jianghu fought back and forth and it was extremely intense. Facing two people who were evenly matched in the end, Duan Ling Tian felt a little drowsy as he watched. After 100 moves, Jin Yuan Bao fell into a disadvantageous position. Only then did Duan Ling Tian regain his senses. After another 30 moves, Jianghu defeated Jin Yuan Bao in one strike. Another 130 moves. Jin Yuan Bao wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and frowned. 2 more moves than last time. Jianghu smiled faintly and said, Junior brother Jin, shouldn't you call me senior brother now? Senior brother Jiang. Although Jin Yuan Bao was a little unwilling, he did not act shamelessly. He called Jianghu senior brother obediently and stood aside. Whether it was Duan Ling Tian, Ling Yun, or the city governor of Mound Hill City, none of them were surprised by this outcome. After consuming a 2-star healing pill that the city governor of Mound Hill City threw to him, Jianghu quickly recovered to his peak condition. His eyes immediately locked onto Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian, I admit that I'm no match for Ling Yun. If you win, I'll respectfully call you senior brother. If I win you. Jianghu looked at Duan Ling Tian. However, before he could finish, Duan Ling Tian interrupted him. If you win, I'll also respectfully call you senior brother. Good. That's straightforward. Jianghu grinned when he heard Duan Ling Tian's words. Let's go. Under the gaze of the city governor of Mound Hill City, Ling Yun and Jin Yuan Bao, Duan Ling Tian strode out. A moment later he stood in front of Jianghu without moving an inch. Jin Yuan Bao looked at Jianghu with a hint of pity in his eyes. In his opinion, Jianghu's ability was at most slightly stronger than his. It was impossible for Jianghu to be a match for Duan Ling Tian whom he was ashamed of being inferior to. At that moment, he seemed to have seen Jianghu being defeated by Duan Ling Tian after a few moves. However, what happened next was out of his expectations. Not only was it out of his expectations, but it was also out of the city governor of Mound Hill City and Ling Yun's expectations. Under the gaze of the three of them, Duan Ling Tian stood there without moving for a long time. In the end, Jianghu made the first move. Although Jianghu was ranked second among the 13 gangsters, he did not dare to be careless when facing Duan Ling Tian whom even Jin Yuan Bao was ashamed of being inferior to. Once he made the first move, he gave it his all without holding back. However, even though he gave it his all, he was still sent flying by Duan Ling Tian who suddenly disappeared from his sight. The moment before he was sent flying, he only saw a flash in front of his eyes and Duan Ling Tian appeared in front of him, just inches away from him. With a raise of his hand, Duan Ling Tian's fist landed on his body. When this fist descended, it caused his body to tremble. He felt as though Duan Ling Tian's fist was like a sledgehammer that descended on his chest, causing his internal organs to tremble and his entire body to fly out like an arrow that left the bow. After cloud riding, Jianghu fell to the ground pathetically. It was a clean defeat. Silence. The scene was dead silent. Jianghu's heavy breathing could be heard clearly. Amazing. After Jin Yuanbao regained his senses, he gave Duan Lingtian a thumbs up. Senior brother Duan is indeed a genius martial cultivator from the mortal continent. I'm afraid his ability is on par with an ordinary martial cultivator on the perfection mortal shedding stage. Although Jin Yuanbao looked calm on the surface, waves of shock had already surged in his heart. Although he was confident in Duan Lingtian, he thought Duan Lingtian would only be able to defeat Jianghu after a few moves. Who knew Jianghu would be defeated in just one move? This gave him a new understanding of Duan Lingtian's ability. At the same time, his heart was filled with an inexplicable shock. Is he really just an intermediate mortal shedding stage martial cultivator? Jin Yuanbao secretly gasped when he thought of this. Disbelief was written all over his face. Ling Yun looked at Duan Lingtian solemnly. He clearly saw how Duan Lingtian attacked earlier. At that moment he even felt that Duan Lingtian's speed was not much slower than his. Although he knew Duan Lingtian could defeat martial and Dao cultivators on the mastery mortal shedding stage with his intermediate mortal shedding stage cultivation base, he did not expect that Duan Lingtian would be able to defeat martial and Dao cultivators on the mastery mortal shedding stage. However, he did not expect Duan Lingtian's ability to be so powerful. Even Jianghu, who was at the peak of the mastery mortal shedding stage, was no match for him. A mastery mortal shedding stage? The city governor of Mound Hill City used his spiritual secret tactic to probe Duan Lingtian's current cultivation base. He could not help but inwardly gasp. It was as though thousands of horses were galloping in his heart, and he could not stop for a long time. How long had it been, and Duan Lingtian had broken through again? After a while, the city governor of Mound Hill City finally calmed down after a few heavy breaths. However, although he was shocked, he did not say anything. As the city governor of Mound Hill City, he naturally knew what to say and what not to say. He did not doubt it at all. Once the news of Duan Lingtian breaking through 2 cultivation bases in such a short time spread out, he would definitely become the target of public criticism. If that happened, it would not be a good thing for Duan Lingtian. This was because everyone, including himself, would think. Since Duan Lingtian was able to break through 2 cultivation levels consecutively in such a short period of time, it was highly likely that there was a huge secret hidden in his body. Naturally, there could be other reasons as well. However, others would not think so. They would rather kill the wrong person than let him go. That was the rule of a greedy person. Therefore, in order to protect Duan Lingtian, he remained silent even though he was extremely shocked. As long as he remained silent, Ling Yun and the other 2 would not know that Duan Lingtian had broken through to the mastery mortal shedding stage again. In their eyes, Duan Lingtian was still a martial cultivator at the intermediate mortal shedding stage. A freakishly terrifying intermediate mortal shedding stage martial cultivator. When he was at the intermediate mortal shedding stage, he could already defeat most of the mastery mortal shedding stage martial cultivators. Now that he has broken through to the mastery mortal shedding stage, even Ling Yun might not be a match for him. The city governor of Mound Hill City thought to himself. At the same time he was delighted. He felt like he had found a treasure. Senior brother Duan. Jianghu slowly stood up after consuming a healing pill. When he regained his breath, there was a hint of respect in his eyes when he looked at Duan Lingtian again. He admired Duan Lingtian from the bottom of his heart. This purple-clad young man who had defeated him and sent him flying in just one blow. Are you all right? Since the other party had addressed him as senior brother, it was only natural that Duan Lingtian asked with a smile on his face. After confirming that Jianghu was fine, he shifted his gaze to Ling Yun. You're very powerful. Ling Yun stood up and looked at Duan Lingtian with a serious expression. Before today, I've never thought that one day, I'd feel fear in front of a martial cultivator at the intermediate mortal shedding stage. You're not weak either. Duan Lingtian responded calmly. Duan Lingtian. At this moment, the city governor of Mound Hill City's voice entered Duan Lingtian's ears through true energy voice transmission. Don't expose your cultivation base at the mastery mortal shedding stage so easily. Duan Lingtian was not surprised that the city governor of Mound Hill City knew about his breakthrough. This was because when he defeated Jianghu, he noticed that the city governor of Mound Hill City's spiritual energy swept toward him. Once again he felt like he was completely seen through. At that time, he knew that the city governor of Mound Hill City had doubts about his cultivation base and had cast the spiritual secret tactic on him to pry into his cultivation base. Duanling Tian could hear the urgency in the city governor of Mound Hill City's tone. Chapter 14:12. It seems like this teacher is quite concerned about me. He reminded me because he doesn't want too many people to know about my breakthrough. After all, it hasn't been long since I broke through to the intermediate mortal shedding stage. If the news of me breaking through to the mastery mortal shedding stage spreads, it'll inevitably attract unnecessary trouble. After all, the speed of my breakthrough is too ridiculous. Duanling Tian could understand the good intentions of the city governor of Mound Hill City. At that moment he felt a sense of warmth in his heart. Previously he had addressed the city governor of Mound Hill City as his teacher out of courtesy, but now he really regarded the city governor of Mound Hill City as his teacher. Ever since Duanling Tian came to this world, the city governor of Mound Hill City was the second person he truly respected as his teacher. The first person was Sima Changfeng from Cloud Continent. Sima Changfeng was the dean of the Crimson Sky Kingdom's Paladin Academy. Before Duanling Tian left the overseas Saint Islands, he was brought to the Ling Tian sect by Duanling Tian. Duanling Tian had always respected Sima Changfeng as his teacher. This did not change even though his current ability was millions of times more powerful than Sima Changfeng. It was not because Sima Changfeng had taught him anything. On the contrary, Sima Changfeng had almost never taught him anything. The reason he respected Sima Changfeng was because Sima Changfeng had helped him many times back then. He would never forget that kindness for the rest of his life. At that moment, although the city governor of Mound Hill City's position in Duanling Tian's heart could not be compared to Sima Changfeng's, it was still extremely important. Duanling Tian, you're a worthy opponent. Ling Yun stared at Duanling Tian as he stared at Duanling Tian. Ling Yun stared at Duanling Tian and said solemnly, if it's an ordinary intermediate mortal shedding stage martial cultivator, I won't even bother to use my sword. Even most mastery mortal shedding stage martial cultivators aren't qualified for me to use my sword. However, I have no choice but to use my sword to fight you. However, I'll let you make the first move as a favor to an intermediate mortal shedding stage martial cultivator like you. When Ling Yun said this, he couldn't help but blush. With his cultivation base at the perfection mortal shedding stage, it would be unfair for him to fight a martial cultivator at the intermediate mortal shedding stage even if he did not make the first move. Therefore, even he felt a little embarrassed. But he had no choice. If it was an ordinary martial cultivator at the middle stage of the mortal shedding stage, he wouldn't even put them in his eyes. However, this Duanling Tian in front of him had defeated Jianghu, who was ranked second among the 13 gangsters. His strength was so strong that he deserved to be cautious. Are you sure you want me to attack first? Duanling Tian asked as he looked at Ling Yun calmly. Yes. Ling Yun nodded. What a joke. It was already unfair for him to fight a martial cultivator at the intermediate mortal shedding stage with his perfection mortal shedding stage cultivation base. If he were to make the first move, where would he put his face? You will regret this. Duanling Tian said as he looked deeply at Ling Yun. I, Ling Yun, have never regretted anything. Ling Yun said with a gleam in his eyes. Duanling Tian smiled brilliantly, causing Ling Yun's hair to stand on end. Then, under the gaze of the four people, including Ling Yun, a layer of silver light appeared on Duanling Tian's body. It was glowing as if he was wearing a layer of silver armor. Silver shirt. Seeing the faint silver light on the surface of Duanling Tian's body, the city governor of Mound Hill City's eyes lit up. He recognized the defensive technique that Duanling Tian was using. No matter what, the human rank mediocre Saint-grade martial tactic, silver shirt, was a Saint-grade martial tactic that was kept in the merit pavilion of the city governor's mansion. As the city governor of Mound Hill City, he naturally knew about it. After performing silver shirt, Duanling Tian raised his left hand and the sun-shooting bow appeared. Then, true energy spurted out of his right hand and formed an arrow. He placed it on the sun-shooting bow. As the bowstring made of the five-clawed devil dragon's dragon tendon was pulled back a little, Duanling Tian immediately let go. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, a solidified arrow ray shot out like a meteor sweeping across the sky. Then Duanling Tian shot out and stood firmly on the arrow ray. He stepped on the arrow ray and shot out. Wherever he passed, the air was sucked dry and the sound of air exploding was heard. Body and arrow synchronization. Duanling Tian's speed was so fast that Jianghu and Jin Yuan Bao could not catch a glimpse of it at all. So fast. The city governor of Mound Hill City narrowed his eyes as shock filled his face. Although he knew Duan Lingtian's cultivation base had broken through to the mastery mortal shedding stage and his ability was on par with a perfection mortal shedding stage martial or Dao cultivator. However, he did not expect Duan Lingtian's arrow to be so fast. Even an arrow shot by a martial cultivator at the peak of the perfection mortal shedding stage might not be that fast, right? The city governor of Mound Hill City's heart skipped a beat. So fast. As the person involved, Ling Yun regretted it the moment Duan Lingtian shot the arrow. Unfortunately, there was no medicine for regret in this world. Just when he was about to dodge to the side and reach for the hilt of the long sword that was sheathed on his back, he noticed the silhouette that was originally far away had appeared in front of him in just a blink of an eye. Bang! Ling Yun did not even have time to react before he was sent flying by Duan Lingtian's punch. He followed in Jianghu's footsteps. However, unlike Jianghu who fell to the ground in a wretched manner, Ling Yun stood firmly on his feet. His body swayed, his face was pale, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He looked at Duan Lingtian again as though he had just seen a ghost. Although he knew Duan Lingtian's ability might be on par with an ordinary perfection mortal shedding stage martial cultivator, he did not expect Duan Lingtian's ability to be so powerful. He did not even have the chance to dodge or draw his sword when he made the first move. Is he really a martial cultivator at the intermediate mortal shedding stage? At this moment Ling Yun was deeply skeptical. However, when he recalled Duan Lingtian had only broken through to the intermediate mortal shedding stage 3 months ago and it was the two Saint Rudiment stage powerhouses who detected his cultivation base using the spiritual secret tactic, he dismissed his doubts. It's impossible for Duan Lingtian to have a breakthrough in 3 months. Ling Yun was very sure of this. What a joke. To break through from the intermediate mortal shedding stage to the mastery mortal shedding stage in 3 months. Even the top genius in the Dao martial Saint Land would not be able to do that. Even if he had the best cultivation resources and environment, it was impossible for him to break through in such a short time. Good. The city governor of Mound Hill City stared at Duan Lingtian with bright eyes. His cheeks were trembling from excitement. Although he had guessed Duan Lingtian might be able to defeat Ling Yun when he discovered Duan Lingtian had broken through to the mastery mortal shedding stage, he did not expect Duan Lingtian to defeat Ling Yun in just one move. Duan Lingtian's current strength had already surpassed Su Qi's strength in the past. Jianghu and Jin Yuan Bao on the other hand were dumbfounded. They stood there in a daze, unable to regain their senses for a long time. Although they knew Duan Lingtian was powerful, they did not expect him to be so powerful. He had made the first move and defeated Ling Yun before Ling Yun could even react. He defeated senior brother Ling Yun in just one move. Doesn't that mean Duan Lingtian is even more powerful than senior brother Su Qi? Jin Yuan Bao sucked in a breath of cold air and murmured. That's right. Even senior brother Su Qi needed 3 moves before he could defeat senior brother Ling Yun. Jianghu nodded. Jianghu and Jin Yuan Bao were completely convinced of Su Qi's strength. As expected. My strength has already surpassed someone at the peak of the perfection mortal shedding stage when I unleash my full strength with the silver shirt and my physical strength. Earlier, when Duan Lingtian made the first move, he had used almost all his strength to defeat Ling Yun in just a blink of an eye. With my current strength, I might be able to fight a martial or Dao cultivator who has just broken through to the paramount mortal shedding stage. Of course, it'll be difficult to win. Duan Lingtian knew this very well. The paramount mortal shedding stage was far from what the perfection mortal shedding stage could compare to. If it was Su Qi in the past, he would indeed not be a match for Duan Lingtian. However, Su Qi has already broken through to the paramount mortal shedding stage half a month ago. The city governor of Mound Hill City smiled when he heard Jin Yuan Bao and Jianghu's mumbling. Ling Yun, Jianghu and Jin Yuan Bao were stunned by what the city governor of Mound Hill City said. Senior brother Su Qi has broken through to the paramount mortal shedding stage? He's not even 40 years old and he's already at the paramount mortal shedding stage. Oh my god. What kind of innate talent is that? With such innate talent, he'll be a genius even if he enters the Moon Illumination sect. He'll be valued by the Moon Illumination sect's senior officials and they'll train him. There was envy in Jianghu and Jin Yuan Bao's eyes as they whispered to each other. Su Qi has broken through to the paramount mortal shedding stage? Duan Lingtian was surprised as well. Like him, Su Qi was a martial cultivator from the mortal continent. As a martial cultivator from the mortal continent, even though he had just broken through to the paramount mortal shedding stage, Su Qi's strength was not something an ordinary paramount mortal shedding stage native from the Dao martial Saint Land could compare to. Duan Lingtian asked himself if he had any confidence in defeating Su Qi, who had just broken through to the paramount mortal shedding stage. Speaking of the Moon Illumination sect. The Moon Illumination sect will open its doors to recruit disciples in 6 months. At that time, the 18 cities, including our Mound Hill city, will bring their most outstanding disciples there. The city governor of Mound Hill City said, "Among the 4 of you, Duan Lingtian and Ling Yun will definitely pass the Moon Illumination sect's test and enter the sect. Jianghu Jinyuan Bao, it's not impossible for both of you to improve in the next 6 months." The Moon Illumination sect was a powerful sect that ruled the 18 cities, including Mound Hill City. It was a 7th-rated force that controlled a 7th-grade Saint Stone Reserve. Even the city governor of Mound Hill City was a disciple of the Moon Illumination sect. In order to amaze the Moon Illumination sect's entrance assessment in 6 months, Su Qi has been in closed-door cultivation recently. He's preparing to cultivate the 3 human-rank mediocre Saint-grade martial tactic techniques to the impeccable stage. Chapter 14-13. The 3 of them were shocked when they heard the city governor of Mound Hill City's words. He wanted to cultivate all 3 moves of the human-rank mediocre Saint-grade martial tactic to the impeccable stage? The impeccable stage was the 5th stage of the Saint-grade martial tactic. It was also the highest stage. Su Qi wanted to cultivate all 3 moves to the highest stage at the same time? The 3 of them did not even need to think to know that the 3 moves were an offensive move, a movement move, and a defensive move. However, they did not expect Su Qi to be so ambitious. Duan Lingtian was the only one who was not surprised. Of course, this was also because he had cultivated the human-rank prominent Saint-grade martial tactic. Moreover, the human-rank prominent Saint-grade martial tactic that he had cultivated was not an ordinary human-rank prominent Saint-grade martial tactic. This was because there was a defensive move in the human-rank prominent Saint-grade martial tactic that he cultivated that was comparable to the defensive move in the Earth-rank Saint-grade martial tactic. The Earth-rank Saint-grade martial tactic could only be cultivated by Saint-stage powerhouses. Due to this reason, as long as Duan Lingtian successfully cultivated that defensive technique, before he broke through to the Saint stage, even if he only mobilized his true energy and did not use his brute strength, no martial or Dao cultivator at the same level would be able to break through his defense. One could imagine how powerful a move that was comparable to an Earth-rank Saint-grade martial tactic was. Any of the moves in the Colossal Aerolite arrow would be comparable to a human-rank mediocre Saint-grade martial tactic move that had been cultivated to the 5th stage, the impeccable refinement stage, if one cultivated it to the 3rd stage, the competent stage. This was the difference between a human-rank prominent Saint-grade martial tactic and a human-rank mediocre Saint-grade martial tactic. Therefore, Duan Lingtian was not surprised at all when he heard Su Qi wanted to cultivate all 3 moves of the human-rank mediocre Saint-grade martial tactic to the 5th stage, the impeccable stage. I can't believe the entrance assessment of the Moon Illumination sect will be held in half a year. Duan Lingtian had long heard about the Moon Illumination sect from Guo Li and the relationship between the Moon Illumination sect and the 18 cities including Mound Hill City. For this reason, he was only surprised that the Moon Illumination sect would hold the entrance examination in half a year's time. Duan Lingtian, your innate talent isn't inferior to Su Qi's. Work hard. I believe you'll definitely achieve great things in the Moon Illumination sect in the future. The city governor of Mound Hill City communicated with Duan Lingtian through true energy voice transmission. Based on his words, he was confident in Duan Lingtian. Teacher, I will do my best. Duan Lingtian nodded. When he addressed the city governor of Mound Hill City as his teacher, he was much more sincere than before. Yes. The city governor of Mound Hill City nodded with a smile. He had high hopes for Duan Lingtian and was not worried about him. Teacher, I want to leave the city lord's mansion for a while. In the evening, Duan Lingtian said to the city governor of Mound Hill City when he was about to return to his room to rest. The city governor of Mound Hill City agreed and did not ask any further questions. Duan Lingtian left the mansion and walked out of the city governor's mansion under the glow of the setting sun. He was holding a small jade token in his hand. It was given to him by the city governor of Mound Hill City earlier. After Duan Lingtian left the mansion, the city governor of Mound Hill City called out to the 3 of them. The 3 of you mustn't spread the news about the strength that Duan Lingtian displayed today. Do you understand? The city governor of Mound Hill City said sternly to the 3 of them. As the saying went, the tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. Now that there was still half a year before the entrance assessment of the Moon Illumination sect would be held, he did not dare to be careless. Naturally, he was not worried that someone from Mound Hill City would look for trouble with Duan Lingtian. What a joke. He was the city governor of Mound Hill City. If something happened to his disciple in Mound Hill City, he would find a piece of tofu to kill himself with. What he was worried about was the other 17 cities finding out that apart from Su Qi, he had another genius like Duan Lingtian. The competition between the 18 cities that the Moon Illumination sect controlled was intense. If the other 17 cities found out about Duan Lingtian's existence, they might do something secretly. It was easy to dodge a spear in the open but difficult to defend against an arrow in the dark. He had to be careful. Yes. Although they did not know about the concerns of the city governor of Mound Hill City, the three of them obeyed the words of the city governor of Mound Hill City. They agreed without any hesitation. Go back and rest. The city governor of Mound Hill City nodded in satisfaction. After the three of them returned to their respective rooms, the city governor of Mound Hill City smirked. I can't believe that after Su Qi, I'll meet a peerless genius like Duan Lingtian again. A peerless genius? That was his evaluation of Duan Lingtian in his heart. In fact, even Su Qi did not make him give such an evaluation. It was obvious that in his opinion, Duan Lingtian's innate talent was above Su Qi's. At least that was the case for now. At the entrance of the city governor's estate, after Duan Lingtian showed the jade token in his hand, the few guards at the entrance bowed at him respectfully. They only straightened their backs when he walked out of the city governor's estate's entrance. The jade token was given to Duan Lingtian by the city governor of Mound Hill City. Mound Hill Order. He's Master City Governor's favorite disciple, Su Qi? One of the guards muttered to himself as he watched Duan Lingtian's departing silhouette. Seeing the Mound Hill Order was equivalent to seeing the city governor. There were only 2 Mound Hill Orders in the entire city governor's estate of Mound Hill City. It was said that one of them was in the city governor's hands while the other one was given to his favorite disciple, Su Qi. I've seen Su Qi in person. He's not Su Qi. Another guard shook his head. He's Duan Lingtian, one of the 4 new disciples that Master City Governor has taken in. However, although he's not weak, he should be weaker than Ling Yun, the leader of the 13 gangsters in the Laden Dragon camp. Why would Master City Governor give such a precious Mound Hill order to him instead of Ling Yun? I can't figure it out. One of the guards recognized Duan Lingtian. His brows were tightly knitted together as he kept shaking his head. It's said that he's from the mortal continent. Young Master Su Qi seems to be from the mortal continent as well. Perhaps Master City Governor takes special care of genius martial cultivators from the mortal continent. One of the guards speculated. Naturally, Duan Lingtian did not know that the jade token in his hand had caused such a huge commotion. Although he had received the jade token from the city governor of Mound Hill City, he did not know what it meant. This was because the city governor of Mound Hill City had only told him that he could enter and leave the city governor's estate anytime he wanted with the jade token. The city governor did not say anything else. After leaving the city governor's estate, Duan Lingtian immediately went to the house of Hongyu, the captain of the city guards, and saw the little girl, Sure. Brother. When the little girl saw Duan Lingtian, she immediately pounced on him excitedly. Her little face was flushed and she looked very cute. Sure, did you miss me? Duan Lingtian asked as he looked at the little girl dotingly. Yes. The little girl nodded like a chick pecking at rice. Sure missed you a lot. I even dreamed of you yesterday. Really? Duan Lingtian asked with a smile. What did you dream of me doing? I dreamed of you flying in the sky with Sure. We flew so high, even higher than when Brother Hongyu took me. The little girl raised her hand and gestured as she spoke. Brother Hongyu took you flying? Duan Lingtian said with a smile. Sure, you weren't naughty, were you? No, Sure is very obedient. You can ask sister-in-law if you don't believe me. As the little girl spoke, she looked at the beautiful woman next to her. She was Hongyu's wife. Yes, Sure is very obedient. Hongyu's disciple looked at the little girl dotingly and played along with her words. Sister-in-law, I'll have to trouble you to take care of Sure during this time. Duan Lingtian looked at Hongyu's wife and smiled. Then he took out a spatial ring and passed it to Hongyu's wife. Sister-in-law. This is, however, Hongyu's wife did not take it. There are 1,000 8th grade saint stones in here. You and Brother Hong can use them. Duan Lingtian said with a smile. 1,000 8th grade saint stones. Hongyu's wife was shocked when she heard Duan Lingtian's words. Even though Hongyu was the captain of the city guards, his monthly salary was only a few dozen 8th grade Saint stones. He would have to save up 1,000 8th grade Saint stones for 2 years. Brother Ling Tian, take it back. Take it back. Hong Yu's wife rejected Duan Ling Tian's offer when she regained her senses. Sister-in-law, just take it. Duan Ling Tian shook his head and smiled. This is just a small token of my appreciation. Brother Ling Tian, since you're brothers with my husband, you're not an outsider. There's no need to be so formal. If I accept your origin stones, my husband will be unhappy. Hong Yu's wife continued to reject Duan Ling Tian's offer. She would rather die than accept his saint stones. If you really want to give it to him, just give it to him yourself. Hong Yu's wife could only say this when she saw Duan Ling Tian was still insisting. Duan Ling Tian smiled wryly. He knew this was the only way out. After asking the little girl Shi to play with Hong Yu's son, Duan Ling Tian looked at Hong Yu's wife and asked in a low voice, "Sister-in-law, has Brother Hong found anything about Shi's background?" No. Hong Yu's wife shook her head. He investigated according to what you said. In the end, he confirmed that the person who abducted Shi was an outsider. He only stayed in Mount Hill City for a day and never appeared again. Duan Ling Tian could not help but sigh when he heard this. Although he knew it would be like looking for a needle in a haystack to find out the little girl's background, he could not help but feel disappointed when he found out that there was really no other way. In an inconspicuous inn in Mount Hill City. On the second floor of the inn, there were 3 people gathered in a guest room in the corner. A young man, a middle-aged man, and an old man. At this moment, the middle-aged man and the old man sat at the table and stared at the young man standing before them. "Uncle Chong, Elder Lin, that Duan Ling Tian has left the city governor's estate." The young man's eyes gleamed with killing intent as he told the 2 people before him excitedly. If Duan Ling Tian was here, he would definitely be able to recognize this young man was none other than Zheng Jian, whom he had defeated and had fallen into the manure pit. He was the person who ranked 5th among the Latent Dragon Camp's 13 gangsters. Chapter 14:14. That night, when Hong Yu returned home and saw Duan Ling Tian, he was pleasantly surprised. "Brother Ling Tian, we brothers haven't seen each other in a while. I heard that you've become the city governor's disciple. As your brother, congratulations. Tonight, we brothers won't go home until we're drunk." Hong Yu's face was full of smiles as he pulled Duan Ling Tian to drink until they were drunk. Of course it was Hong Yu who was drunk. Although Duan Ling Tian did not use his true energy to force the alcohol out of his body, his current physique was stronger than a 5-clawed divine dragon of the same level. It was difficult for him to get drunk. The next day, Duan Ling Tian handed over the 1,000 8th grade saint stones that were rejected yesterday to Hong Yu, who was sober. However, Hong Yu's face darkened. "Brother Ling Tian, what do you mean by this?" "Brother Hong, I'm indebted to you and sister-in-law for taking care of Shi all this time. Treat these saint stones as Shi's living expenses," Duan Ling Tian said with a smile. "Brother Ling Tian, who do you think I am? Since I've acknowledged you as my brother, I naturally treat Shi as my sister. Quickly take back the saint stones. Otherwise, don't blame me for falling out with you." Hong Yu's face darkened. It was obvious that he was dissatisfied. "Brother Hong, please calm down. I said the wrong thing." Duan Ling Tian did not expect Hong Yu to have such a big reaction. He smiled awkwardly. "How about this? I'll leave these 1,000 8th grade saint stones as my 2 nephews and Shi's cultivation expenses. Brother Hong, your monthly salary is not much. After deducting your and sister-in-law's cultivation expenses and daily expenses as a beast tamer, you still have to use a large amount of saint stones to tame ferocious beasts." Duan Ling Tian said with a serious face, "Brother Hong, I don't care what you think, but it's time for the children to lay down their foundation. They can't slack off." Hong Yu fell silent after hearing Duan Ling Tian's words. That was right. It wouldn't be long before his 2 children could start cultivating as well. If he had an endless supply of holy stones, he would definitely be able to soar into the sky. He wouldn't be like back then when he didn't have any holy stones to cultivate and could only absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to cultivate. Although he was the captain of the city guards, his monthly salary was only a few dozen 8th grade saint stones. If he wasn't a beast tamer, perhaps it would be enough for his family. However, he was a beast tamer. Every month, he had to pay a high price for the food he gave the ferocious beasts. "Big brother Hong, keep it. You and I are brothers, why do you need to be so calculative? Moreover, you know that I'm not only one of the 13 gangsters in the Latent Dragon Camp, but I've also become the governor's disciple. I don't lack saint stones at all. Seeing Hong Yu's silence, Duan Lingtian knew that Hong Yu's heart was wavering, so he quickly struck while the iron was hot. When Hong Yu heard this, he was silent for a moment. Then he gritted his teeth and said, "Brother Lingtian, as your elder brother, I won't refuse you. However, this is the only time. There won't be a next time." As he spoke, Hong Yu's face stiffened. All right. Naturally, Duan Lingtian agreed. It was fine as long as Hong Yu was willing to accept it. At most, he would give the saint stones to Shirshir next time so that she could give them to his two little nephews. Unknowingly, Duan Lingtian and Hong Yu began to talk about Shirshir's background. "Brother Lingtian, if we can't find out about Shirshir's background, just let her stay at my place. Both my wife and I like her very much. Moreover, my two little brats can't leave her now," Hong Yu said. Duan Lingtian nodded. All right. Duan Lingtian agreed. He knew very well that this was the best choice. The little girl Shirshir could not always follow him. If she stayed at Hong Yu's place, she would have a home to return to. In the future, when she grew up and got married, she could have a complete life. If she followed him, not only would it be inconvenient, but she would also have to go through many dangers. After all, his goal was to become a powerhouse who stood at the peak of the Dao Martial Saint Land. Who knew how many dangers awaited him along the way? It was impossible for him to let Shirshir take the risk with him. In the next few days, Duan Lingtian did not go anywhere and stayed at Hong Yu's place. During the day he would accompany the little girl, Shirshir, and at night, he would cultivate in his room. "I'll have to leave Mount Hill City and head to the Moon Illumination Sect in 6 months. Once I go to the Moon Illumination Sect, I don't know when I'll be back." Due to this reason, Duan Lingtian decided to spend more time with the little girl, Shirshir. This night, Duan Lingtian cultivated quietly in his room. To be more precise, he cultivated on the second level of the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda. The Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda had turned into a speck of dust and was lying quietly on the bed. "I've succeeded." Although Duan Lingtian only cultivated on the second level of the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda at night for the past 6 days since he arrived at Hong Yu's place, he had cultivated there for a total of 9 days. In these 9 days, he finally cultivated the body and arrow synchronization in the Saint Grade Martial Tactic, Colossal Aerolite Arrow, to the competent stage. The competent stage was the 3rd stage of the Saint Grade Martial Tactic. It was comparable to the 5th stage of the human rank mediocre Saint Grade Martial Tactic, the impeccable stage. Now that my speed has caught up, I'm confident I can kill a native of the Dao Martial Saint Land who has just broken through to the paramount mortal shedding stage. Duan Lingtian was filled with confidence as his eyes shone brightly. Boom, 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 boom. Just when Duan Lingtian was filled with confidence, the entire Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda shook as though there was an earthquake. Before Duan Lingtian could react, he was blasted out of the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda by an irresistible force. After being blasted out of the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda, Duan Lingtian felt a wave of dizziness and discomfort spread all over his body, causing his expression to turn extremely grave. "What do you mean?" There was no need for him to think about it. He knew something must have affected the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda. Otherwise, the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda would not have blasted him out. "Uncle Chang, Elder Lin, he's Duan Lingtian." Just when Duan Lingtian's expression changed drastically and killing intent flashed in his eyes, a deep voice entered Duan Lingtian's ears. This voice sounded somewhat familiar. When Duan Lingtian looked over, he saw a familiar figure. Zheng Jian. Duan Lingtian recognized the person. It was Zheng Jian who was thrown into the septic tank by him and was expelled from the Latent Dragon Camp and the city governor's mansion for accidentally killing Hu Jia. The person who ranked 5th among the 13 gangsters was a mastery mortal shedding stage martial cultivator. At this moment, Duan Lingtian also saw the other 2 people. One was a middle-aged man while the other was an old man. Both of them were obviously Zheng Jian's helpers. Without any hesitation, Duan Lingtian activated his divine eye right away. With just a glance, he saw through their cultivation base. One was on Perfection Mortal Shedding stage while the other was on Perfection Mortal Shedding stage. Perfection Mortal Shedding stage? Duan Lingtian's face turned slightly grave. That's not right. Suddenly, Duan Lingtian seemed to have noticed something. This old man's cultivation base seems to be unstable. Did he just break through to Perfection Mortal Shedding stage? Duan Lingtian heaved a sigh of relief when he realized that. If he had just broken through to Perfection Mortal Shedding stage, he would still be able to fight him. Duan Lingtian, You caused me to be expelled from the latent dragon camp and ruined my future. You must die today. Zheng Jian stared fixedly at Duanling Tian. His eyes were suffused with scarlet red, and it seemed as if he wished for nothing more than to forcefully swallow Duanling Tian alive. Looking at the rising anger in his eyes, it was as though Duanling Tian had killed his father and snatched his wife away from him. I caused you to be expelled from the latent dragon camp and ruined your future? After confirming the other two people's cultivation base, Duanling Tian calmed down. When he heard Zheng Jian's words, he smirked. It seems like you were the one who killed your distant cousin. That's why you were expelled from the latent dragon camp, right? How can you blame this on me? What a joke. Duanling Tian smirked as he looked at Zheng Jian mockingly. If you didn't, I wouldn't have failed. Zheng Jian clenched his teeth even more when he recalled what happened in the past. However, he was too ashamed to tell Duanling Tian about what had happened to him because it was too embarrassing. If I didn't throw you into the septic tank, you wouldn't have failed? However, Duanling Tian had no intention of cooperating with Zheng Jian when he wanted to gloss over it. Septic tank? Both the middle-aged man and the old man were stunned when they heard Duanling Tian's words. They looked at Zheng Jian in unison. Although they were from New South Town's Zheng clan, they knew Zheng Jian was expelled from the latent dragon camp and the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City because of this purple-clad young man. However, they had never heard Zheng Jian mention anything about a septic tank. Zheng Jian had been thrown into a septic tank before? Just the thought of it made them feel disgusted as though they had swallowed a fly. They could not help but sympathize with Zheng Jian when they looked at him. Naturally, it was an instinctive reaction. Why don't you think about it? If you didn't provoke me time and time again and even made me challenge you, would you have been thrown into the septic tank by me? Would you have accidentally killed Hu Jia? Duanling Tian continued smirking when Zheng Jian was so angry that his body began to tremble violently. Uncle Chang, Elder Lin, kill him. Kill him. Zheng Jian roared with bloodshot eyes. Zheng Chang, he caused the number one person among the younger generation of our New South Town's Zheng clan to be expelled from the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City. His sin is unforgivable. If you kill him, it can be considered as venting for the family. The old man said calmly as he stared at Duanling Tian with his cold eyes. Based on his words, it seemed like he did not plan to kill Zheng Jian. Perhaps, in his opinion, the purple-clad young man before him was not worth his time. Yes, Elder Lin. The middle-aged man, Zheng Chang, nodded and looked at Duanling Tian coldly. Boy, repent on your way to hell. Not everyone can afford to offend our New South Town's Zheng clan. I'm the disciple of the city governor of Mound Hill City. If you kill me, aren't you afraid that the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City will annihilate your Zheng clan? Duanling Tian glanced at Zheng Chang, Zheng Lin, and Zheng Jian with a piercing gaze. Duanling Tian, as long as you die here, who'll know our Zheng clan killed you? Aren't you powerful? I'd like to see how many moves you can take from Uncle Chang, a powerhouse on the perfection mortal shedding stage. Chapter 14-15. Does that mean the Zheng clan is looking for death? Duanling Tian asked calmly as he narrowed his eyes. Duanling Tian's expression had not changed since the beginning. Even when he found out that the person who wanted to kill him was a martial cultivator at the perfection mortal shedding stage, he was still calm. Zheng Lin's heart sank when he saw that. For a moment he even thought that someone was secretly protecting Duanling Tian. That was why Duanling Tian dared to do that. However, he quickly denied that thought. According to Zheng Jian, there was no one following Duanling Tian since he left the city governor's estate. Moreover, they had been observing him for a few days before they made a move. They only decided to make a move after confirming that there was no one secretly protecting Duanling Tian. After all, if news of them killing the disciple of the city governor of Mound Hill City spread out, it would bring disaster to the Zheng clan of New South Town. The city governor's estate of Mound Hill City was an 8th-rated force. It would be a piece of cake for them to destroy a 9th-rated force like the Zheng clan. Unless there's a Saint Rudiment stage powerhouse hiding in the air to protect him, that's why we won't notice him. However, that's impossible. Zheng Lin was relieved when he thought of this. There were not many Saint Rudiment stage powerhouses even in the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City. In his opinion, even if Duanling Tian was the disciple of the city governor of Mound Hill City, it was impossible for the city governor of Mound Hill City to send a Saint Rudiment stage powerhouse to protect him secretly. Duanling Tian, stop trying to be mysterious. No matter how calm you pretend to be today, no matter what you say, you won't be able to escape death. Zheng Jian smirked. From the moment you became my enemy, your fate has been sealed. You'll definitely die. This won't change even if you become the disciple of the city governor of Mound Hill City. Zheng Jian's eyes were filled with jealousy when he reached the end of his sentence. He was jealous that Duan Lingtian could become the disciple of the city governor of Mound Hill City. However, not only did he fail to become the disciple of the city governor of Mound Hill City, but he was also expelled from the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City. He wanted Duan Lingtian dead. Only in this way could he vent the anger in his heart and balance his mind. So what if he's the disciple of the city governor of Mound Hill City? Aren't you still going to die in the hands of my new Southtown's Zheng family? Zheng Jian looked at Duan Lingtian, and his eyes revealed slight disdain. Despise me? Seeing Zheng Jian's gaze, Duan Lingtian smiled brightly. Zheng Jian, you're just a loser. How dare you look at me like that? Looks like the lesson from last time wasn't enough. The moment his words left his mouth, Duan Lingtian had already pounced toward Zheng Jian before Zheng Chang could even react. Zheng Jian did not expect that Duan Lingtian would attack him, and his face immediately changed. You are courting death. Zheng Chang shouted coldly. His entire body seemed to have transformed into a bolt of lightning as he flashed towards Duan Lingtian. His speed was even faster than Duan Lingtian's. With Duan Lingtian's current speed, by the time he arrived in front of Zheng Jian, Zheng Chang would be able to make it in time. He would definitely be able to stop Duan Lingtian in time. Due to this, Zheng Lin, a martial cultivator at the paramount mortal shedding stage, did not plan to make a move. Instead, he watched coldly from afar. Is he really only an intermediate mortal shedding stage martial cultivator? His speed is not inferior to most mastery mortal shedding stage martial cultivators. However, he's still too inexperienced to kill someone in front of Zheng Chang. Zheng Lin sneered in his heart as he watched coldly from the sidelines. When Duan Lingtian arrived in front of Zheng Jian, Zheng Chang had indeed made it. He cut the queue and landed between Duan Lingtian and Zheng Jian, blocking the Duan Lingtian. Uncle Chang, kill him? Zheng Jian, who was drenched in cold sweat, roared hysterically. Idiot! Seeing Zheng Chang appearing in front of Zheng Jian, Duan Lingtian smirked. It was a smirk of a scheme succeeding. Zheng Chang's heart skipped a beat when he saw the smirk. An ominous feeling rose in his heart. Just when he was about to suppress the ominous feeling, he noticed Duan Lingtian, who was standing in front of him, had taken out an old bow with a raise of his hand. Sound of death. Accompanied by a loud and unpleasant clang, a solidified true energy light blade that seemed to have transformed into a death god's scythe swept across the sky and cut off Zheng Chang's head. Zheng Chang's eyes widened as he looked at the other half of his body. His consciousness gradually faded. From the beginning until the end, he did not even have time to make a move. However, all of this was not over yet. After the true energy light blade that was like a death god's scythe cut off Zheng Chang's head, it continued to sweep across the sky and cut off Zheng Jian's head as well, causing him to follow in Zheng Chang's footsteps. In just one move, 2 people were killed. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. It was so fast that Zheng Lin did not even have time to react. In Zheng Lin's field of vision, Zheng Chang had just appeared in front of Duan Lingtian when his head was severed from his body in just a blink of an eye. Zheng Jian's fate was the same as his. At this moment, he also realized that Duan Lingtian had been concealing his strength earlier. He had purposely unleashed his speed to make him lower his guard. You're seeking death, brat? Zheng Lin shouted when he regained his senses. His robe fluttered, and his long hair fluttered like pythons even though there was no wind. At the same time, a powerful aura exuded from his body. It was as though he had transformed into a mountain as he charged toward Duan Lingtian. You've just broken through not too long ago, and your foundation is still unstable at the paramount mortal shedding stage. Just nice for me to practice. In the face of Zheng Lin, who was charging toward him like a madman, Duan Lingtian was not afraid at all. Instead, his eyes lit up. At the same time, the 52 saint veins in his body guided the true energy in his chi-si to cover his entire body as he cast the silver shirt. At that moment, Duan Lingtian seemed to have put on a silver shirt as his aura changed. In the face of Zheng Lin, who was charging toward him menacingly with a punch, Duan Lingtian did not plan to take advantage of him. Just in time. Duan Lingtian charged forward excitedly and threw out a punch. It was as though it had transformed into a cannonball that was surrounded by true energy as it collided with Zheng Lin's fist violently. This punch contained all of Duan Lingtian's strength without any reservation. After casting the silver shirt, his physical strength had become even more terrifying. The true energy that was transported by the 52 Saint veins had completely erupted at this moment. A punch against a punch. Before their fists collided, an ear-piercing explosion sounded in the air like thunder. Bang! In just a blink of an eye, Duan Lingtian's fist finally collided with Zheng Lin's fist. Do you think you can fight me just because you killed Jing Chang? You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. The moment their fists collided, a disdainful smile appeared on Zheng Lin's face. However, the smile on Zheng Lin's face soon froze. As the two fists collided, a loud sound rang out in the air. A vast wave of air swept out, shaking the various furnishings in the room into powder. Even the doors and windows were blown open. Brother Ling Tian. Such a big commotion naturally alarmed Hong Yu. Hong Yu rushed over at the first moment. When he arrived, he saw Duan Lingtian confronting an old man. Compared to Duan Lingtian's pale face, the old man was in an even worse state as he spat out blood. No. Impossible. Impossible. Zheng Lin raised his head and looked at Duan Lingtian in disbelief. He did not use a saint weapon, and neither did his opponent. However, it was under such circumstances that his preemptive and aggressive punch was still blocked by the other party. Not only that, after he was severely injured, he realized his opponent was only slightly injured. He could not accept this. Was Duan Lingtian not a martial cultivator at the intermediate mortal shedding stage? Was his ability not on par with a martial cultivator at the mastery mortal shedding stage? Why did he not only kill Jing Chang, who was at the perfection mortal shedding stage, but also suppress him? Nothing's impossible. Duan Lingtian sneered. There was a hint of excitement in the depth of his eyes. He did not expect that he could defeat a martial cultivator at the paramount mortal shedding stage with his full strength. Although his opponent had clearly broken through to the paramount mortal shedding stage not long ago, a paramount mortal shedding stage was still a paramount mortal shedding stage. His ability was not something a peak perfection mortal shedding stage could compare to. Don't be too smug. I didn't use a saint weapon earlier. Zheng Lin, who had recovered slightly from his injuries after consuming a healing pill, raised his hand and took out a full moon scimitar. As soon as the scimitar was in his hand, his entire aura changed. He exuded a sharp aura from head to toe. You didn't use a saint weapon? Don't tell me I'm going to use it? Duan Lingtian sneered and raised the sun-shooting bow in his hand. A person who was defeated by him without using a saint weapon. How could he defeat him with a saint weapon? Did he really think the sun-shooting bow in his hand was useless? Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words and seeing the sun-shooting bow in Duan Lingtian's hand, Zheng Lin's expression was extremely grave. He recalled that his opponent had not used a saint weapon earlier as well. At this moment he felt a sense of helplessness. Duan Lingtian, you're fine now, and 2 people from my new South Town's Zheng clan have died. Why don't we just let bygones be bygones and mind our own business from now on? After realizing that it would be difficult for him to kill Duan Lingtian, Zheng Lin's expression changed abruptly as he gave in. Let bygones be bygones? Mind our own business? Duan Lingtian smiled. His smile was bright and sarcastic. Do you think that's possible? If my ability was slightly weaker today, would you be willing to let bygones be bygones? Mind our own business? Bang. In the blink of an eye, even Duan Lingtian did not expect Zheng Lin would stomp on the ground and use the force to fly out. His speed was so fast that it was not inferior to him when he had not made a breakthrough in his previous technique. When Duan Lingtian returned to his senses, Zheng Lin had already flown out of the window. His figure was about to disappear into the night. Trying to escape? Duan Lingtian sneered. He raised his hand and prepared to shoot an arrow. He was prepared to cast his movement technique, body and arrow synchronization, to chase after Zheng Lin. He was confident he could catch up to Zheng Lin with his body and arrow synchronization after he had made a breakthrough. However, when an afterimage appeared in his left eye's field of vision and flew into the room, his attention was diverted. When the person revealed himself, Duan Lingtian finally saw that it was a middle-aged man with a handsome face and an extraordinary bearing. Chapter 14-16. Who are you? Zheng Lin, who was being held in the middle-aged man's hand, was scared out of his wits. He did not manage to run far before he was captured by this person without any ability to fight back. This person's strength was far stronger than his. He was at least at the peak of the paramount mortal shedding stage. However, the middle-aged man ignored him. Instead, he looked at Duan Lingtian and smiled. Duan Lingtian, I'll leave him to you. As soon as the middle-aged man finished speaking, he tossed Zheng Lin toward Duan Lingtian. Zheng Lin was freed from the restraints after being tossed out by the middle-aged man. He wanted to use the same trick to escape again. However, could he escape? Whoosh! As an unpleasant sound reverberated in the air, a solidified true energy light blade swept out and sliced Zheng Lin's neck effortlessly, cutting his head off. The paramount mortal shedding stage martial cultivator who was still alive and kicking just a moment ago was now dead without any chance of turning the tables. Zheng Lin's head rolled to the side of the wall, leaving a glaring trail of blood along the way. He stood by the wall with his eyes wide open. There was only horror in his eyes. Gasp. Hong Yu, who had rushed over, gasped when he saw this. At the same time, he also noticed the other two severed bodies. Brother Ling Tian, are you all right? Hong Yu looked at Duan Ling Tian worriedly. If something happened to his brother in his house, he would not be able to rest in peace for the rest of his life. I'm fine. Duan Ling Tian shook his head and smiled at Hong Yu. He then looked at the middle-aged man who was smiling at him. Thank you for your help, senior. May I know who you are? No wonder Lord City Governor values you so much. You're indeed extraordinary. The middle-aged man smiled. Why your teacher's man? Duan Ling Tian was shocked. Then a thought flashed in his mind as he asked curiously, Senior, are you one of teacher's 36 guardians? Duan Ling Tian did not activate his divine eye in front of the middle-aged man. This was because he felt like he was facing his teacher and the heavenly leader guardian. Whether it was his teacher or the heavenly leader guardian, they were both Saint Rudiment stage powerhouses. You're smart. The middle-aged man smiled. I'm ranked second among the 36 personal guards under the city lord. Heavenly Dipper guards. Duan Ling Tian gasped. He didn't expect that he'd really guessed correctly. This person really was one of the 36 personal guards under his teacher's command, and he was the second-ranked Heavenly Strength Guard. Of the 36 Big Dipper stars, Big Dipper was ranked first and Big Dipper was ranked second. I've already sent a message to the city lord about what happened here. No one from the Zheng family of New South Town can escape. The Heavenly Strength Guard said indifferently, as if he was talking about something unimportant. As far as he was concerned, annihilating the Zheng clan couldn't be any easier. He only needed to make a move, and he would be able to topple the entire Zheng clan and make it so that the Zheng clan would never be able to rise again. To be able to force a paramount mortal shedding stage martial cultivator to flee. I'm afraid even Lord City Governor doesn't know you have this ability, right? The Heavenly Strength Guard sized up Duan Ling Tian with great interest. Not long after Duan Ling Tian entered the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City, he had already heard about Duan Ling Tian. In the beginning he did not think much of him, but he had no choice but to take him seriously in the end. A few days ago, when Duan Ling Tian left the city governor's estate, the city lord had personally ordered him to protect Duan Ling Tian secretly. At that moment he finally realized how important Duan Ling Tian was to the city lord city governor. From the beginning until the end, the Heavenly Strength Guard who was hiding in the air to protect Duan Ling Tian had seen everything. Initially he thought he would have to make a move. However, it had never crossed his mind that Duan Ling Tian would be able to kill two people from the Zheng clan on his own and force a paramount mortal shedding stage martial cultivator from the Zheng clan to flee. He knew very well that Duan Ling Tian would definitely be able to catch up with Zheng Lin. The reason he made a move was because he wanted to meet Duan Ling Tian face to face. This young genius who would take the initiative to join the Moon Illumination sect in half a year's time was even more dazzling than Su Qi. As paramount mortal shedding stage? Upon hearing the Heavenly Strength Guard's words, Hong Yu, who was stunned by the Heavenly Strength Guard's identity, could not help but exclaim out loud. His gaze then landed on Zheng Lin's head. This is a martial cultivator on the paramount mortal shedding stage? Hong Yu's heart was filled with shock. When he looked at Duan Ling Tian again, disbelief was written all over his face. He's just a martial cultivator who has just broken through to the paramount mortal shedding stage. His foundation is not stable yet. If it weren't for that, I might not be a match for him. Duan Ling Tian said as he shook his head. Naturally, Hong Yu and the Heavenly Strength Guard saw his words as humble. Greetings, Lord Heavenly Strength Guard. I'm Hong Yu, the city guard's captain. At that moment, Hong Yu suppressed the shock in his heart and bowed at the Heavenly Strength Guard. You're Hong Yu from the city guard? I've heard of you. You're really not bad. After secretly protecting Duan Ling Tian for a few days, the Heavenly Strength Guard also knew that Duan Ling Tian and Hong Yu were close. Therefore he was very polite to Hong Yu. He knew that Duan Ling Tian was destined to leave Mound Hill City. His future achievements would definitely not be inferior to the Master City Governor. Therefore he naturally did not dare to neglect Duan Lingtian's friend. Whoosh! As the heavenly strength guard waved his hand, the 3 bodies on the ground were put away by him. He bade farewell to Duan Lingtian and nodded at Hong Yu before he left. At that moment, Duan Lingtian and Hong Yu were the only ones left in the room that was filled with blood, and the doors and windows were destroyed. Hong Yu looked at Duan Lingtian with a complicated gaze. Although he knew Duan Lingtian was a rare genius martial cultivator, he did not expect him to be so powerful. Even a martial cultivator on the paramount mortal shedding stage was no match for him. "Big brother Hong, I'll have to trouble you to clean up here." Duan Lingtian glanced at the room and said a little awkwardly, "It's all right. I'll bring you to another guest room first. As for this place, I'll get the servant to clean it up later." Hong Yu returned to his senses and shook his head. Subsequently, he helped Duan Lingtian to another guest room. His feelings were very complicated from the beginning until the end. What did Hong Yu do to deserve such a brother? At that moment, a ridiculous thought rose in his mind. Should I go to his family's ancestral grave to see if there's smoke coming out of it? Otherwise, how could he, Hong Yu, have such a great opportunity? What happened tonight was just a small episode to Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian knew very well that the Zheng family of New South Town intended to kill him. It would be fine if they succeeded, but if they did not, it would mean that they would be annihilated. Duan Lingtian did not care about that at all. This was the law of the world where the strong ruled. The weak were prey to the strong, and only the fittest survived. Since he was a rat, he should stay in his rat's nest obediently. If he tried to pull the whiskers of a cat, he was destined to die. In the middle of the night, 2 figures appeared in the sky above the city governor's mansion of Mound Hill City. After leaving the city governor's mansion, they flew all the way. Half an hour later, they stood still in the sky above a vast town. New South Town. As the 2 figures descended from the sky, a huge mansion at the foot of the town stirred up a storm of blood. The Zheng family of New South Town was annihilated just like that. Before dawn, everyone in New South Town had woken up from their sleep. More than half of New South Town was filled with the thick smell of blood. Oh my God! Who did the Zheng family offend? Their entire family was annihilated overnight. The people of New South Town gasped when they found out that no one from the Zheng family was left alive. After staying in Hong Yu's house for a few more days, Duan Lingtian left and returned to the city governor's mansion directly. After returning to the city governor's mansion, he did not return to the mansion where the city governor of Mound Hill City stayed. Instead, he returned to the Latent Dragon camp to inform Guoli. He planned to stay at the city governor's place to cultivate for a period of time until the day of the entrance assessment of the Moon Illumination sect. Duan Lingtian. As soon as Duan Lingtian entered the Latent Dragon camp, he heard someone calling out to him. Zhu Lang? The person who called out to him was Zhu Lang. Ah, Duan Lingtian, have you heard? The Zheng family of New South Town has been annihilated. How delightful. Zhu Lang was beaming. He seemed to be in a good mood. New South Town's Zheng family? Zheng Jian's family? Duan Lingtian asked. Although he knew what was going on, he could not help but feel shocked. His teacher's actions were too fast, right? Duan Lingtian had no idea. His teacher was enraged when he found out that the Zheng family of New South Town wanted to kill him. He immediately ordered the Heavenly Leader Guardian and a Saint Rudiment revered elder to head to New South Town to annihilate the Zheng family. As the city governor of Mound Hill City, how could he swallow his anger when he was provoked by someone from a 9th-rate clan in the surrounding area of Mound Hill City? Duan Lingtian, with your innate talent, it's only a matter of time before you enter the Moon Illumination sect. I wonder when we'll meet again after you leave. Guoli could not help but sigh when she was called out by Duan Lingtian and found out that Duan Lingtian would not be staying in the Latent Dragon camp for the next 6 months. She had entered the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City together with Duan Lingtian. Currently, Duan Lingtian was about to enter a 7th-rate force, but she still had to stay in this 8th-rate force. I'll come back to visit you and my teacher when I'm free. Moreover, you might be able to enter the Moon Illumination sect in the future. Duan Lingtian smiled. This time he also had the intention of saying goodbye to Guoli. After all, it would be a rush if he left in half a year. He did not know if Guoli would be in closed-door cultivation at that time. Therefore it was better to bid farewell in advance. Even today, Duan Lingtian only wanted to try his luck. If Guoli was in closed-door cultivation, he could only look for her next time. After all, he was not here to challenge Guoli. If he was here to challenge Guoli, naturally, It did not matter if she was in closed-door cultivation or not. Guo Li's gaze was extremely complicated as she watched Duan Lingtian's silhouette leaving. She muttered to herself, Guo Li, a man like him is not someone you're worthy of? It was apparent that Guo Li had fallen in love with Duan Lingtian, whom she had only known for a few months. However, this feeling was hidden by her. She could tell that Duan Lingtian only treated her as a good friend and did not have any other intentions. If she rashly broke the ice, they might not be able to be friends in the future. Chapter 14-17. In the following days, apart from occasionally listening to the city governor of Mound Hill City talk about Marshal Dao, Duan Lingtian spent the rest of his time cultivating in his room. Of course, he entered the Seven Treasures exquisite pagoda to cultivate and did not waste any time. It was worth mentioning that Su Qi had also moved into the courtyard of the city governor of Mound Hill City. As soon as Su Qi entered, Jianghu wanted to stir up trouble. He wanted the Duan Lingtian and Su Qi to fight to see who would be the eldest senior brother. However, his plan was ruined by the intervention of the city governor of Mound Hill City. Among all of you, Su Qi is the oldest and he was the first to follow me. Theoretically speaking, he's the eldest senior brother. The city governor of Mound Hill City did this because he was worried that Su Qi would not be able to recover after being defeated by Duan Lingtian. Su Qi had been with him for many years. Naturally, he knew Su Qi's character. He was unruly and unruly. Among his peers, he had an unimaginable sense of superiority. Sometimes standing high might not be a good thing, because once he fell down he would be smashed to pieces. The reason he was worried Su Qi would be defeated by Duan Lingtian was because he learned that Duan Lingtian had killed a martial cultivator at the paramount mortal shedding stage from the Zheng clan. However, although the city governor of Mound Hill City had concealed his intentions, Su Qi still managed to catch some clues. Duan Lingtian. When Su Qi found out that his master had the intention of stopping him from competing with Duan Lingtian and even discussed it with the Duan Lingtian in private, his pride was greatly provoked. Therefore he went straight to Duan Lingtian. Senior brother Su Qi, what's the matter? Duan Lingtian opened the door and walked out, only to find Su Qi standing there with a gloomy face. He couldn't help but look puzzled. I don't remember offending Su Qi, right? Duan Ling, I know master looked for you and told you not to spar with me. So I want to challenge you today and prove that I'm worthy of my title as the eldest senior brother. Su Qi said with a gloomy expression. When he first met the Duan Lingtian, he did not think much of the Duan Lingtian. It was not until recently that he found out Duan Lingtian had defeated Ling Yun in just one blow. Moreover, his master thought he might not be a match for Duan Lingtian even though he had broken through to the paramount mortal shedding stage. He couldn't stand it. His opponent was only a martial cultivator at the intermediate mortal shedding stage while he was a martial cultivator at the paramount mortal shedding stage. Su Qi was unaware that Duan Lingtian had broken through to the mastery mortal shedding stage. Even if he knew, he wouldn't be able to accept it. Senior brother Su Qi, is there a misunderstanding? Teacher didn't say anything to me. I admit that I'm not as good as you. Duan Lingtian said with a wry smile. Naturally, he would not tell them that the city governor of Mound Hill City had looked for him. Although he did not have much contact with Su Qi, he could tell that Su Qi was a proud and arrogant person who might not be able to withstand the blow of being defeated by him. After all, he was only a martial cultivator at the intermediate mortal shedding stage in Su Qi's eyes. No matter what, you and I must fight today. Su Qi's persistence was beyond Duan Lingtian's expectation. In the end, it even alerted the city governor of Mound Hill City, Ling Yun, Jianghu and Jin Yuan Bao. Duan Lingtian, you'll fight him. He'll have to face what he has to face. The city governor of Mound Hill City sighed and transmitted his voice to Duan Lingtian. Remember, don't show any mercy. He knew very well. If Duan Lingtian showed mercy and Su Qi saw through his weakness, he would definitely have a heart demon even if he won. Although inner demons were illusory, they were real. Once the heart demon was formed, it would be difficult for Su Qi to break through to the Saint Rudiment stage, let alone the Saint stage. Yes, teacher. Since the city governor of Mound Hill City had spoken, there was no reason for Duan Lingtian to refuse. To be honest, he also wanted to know how powerful Su Qi was. Although he could defeat the paramount mortal shedding stage martial cultivator from New South Town's Zheng clan, that was because he had just broken through to the paramount mortal shedding stage and was a native of the Dao martial saint land. However, he could see Su Qi's cultivation base at the paramount mortal shedding stage through his divine eye. Although it had not completely stabilized, it was still stronger than Jing Lin. Most importantly, Su Qi was also a genius martial cultivator from the mortal continent. His foundation was solid. Since they were going to fight, naturally Duan Lingtian would not show any mercy. Even if the city governor of Mound Hill City did not say anything, he would still go all out. Xiong, who was the most excited about the battle between Duan Lingtian and Su Qi. Ah! Senior brother Su Qi and senior brother Duan Lingtian are finally going to fight. This is going to be a fierce battle. It'll definitely be exciting. Although Ling Yun and Jin Yuan Bao did not say anything, their eyes were filled with anticipation as they stood at the side. Let's begin. Standing at the side of the spacious front yard, the city governor of Mound Hill City looked at the two people who were facing each other and said. At this moment, Duan Lingtian and Su Qi, who were standing in the middle of the field, made their moves almost at the same time. Both of them were like two cheetahs as they shot out like lightning and collided head-on. Bang! A loud explosion reverberated in the air when Duan Lingtian's fist collided with Su Qi's fist. A thunderous explosion rang in the air. A rolling airwave swept out and wreaked havoc in all directions. It was only because the gravity in the Dao Martial Saint Land was strong and the space was stable. Otherwise, the collision between the two of them was enough to set off a vast shockwave. If this shockwave was placed on Cloud Continent, it would have swept out at least a few hundred meters away. Even so, the shockwave that swept out still caused the flowers and trees in the front yard to sway and flutter. As expected of a genius martial cultivator from the mortal continent. Duan Lingtian, who was pushed back 7 steps by the force of Su Qi's punch, had a solemn expression on his face when he saw Su Qi, who only took 5 steps back. The punch earlier was the full force of his silver shirt. He did not hold back at all. In just a blink of an eye, his 52 Saint veins had activated his true energy and his brute strength. However, even then he was still at a disadvantage when he faced Su Qi, who did not use any Saint-grade martial tactic. Although it wasn't obvious, they had fallen into a disadvantageous position, and that was that. At this moment, Duan Lingtian had to admit that Su Qi was indeed not simple as a disciple whom the city governor of Mound Hill City had put in all his effort to cultivate. At the very least, he was not on the same level as the paramount mortal shedding stage from the Zheng clan. Duan Lingtian was shocked by Su Qi's ability, but Su Qi was even more shocked. Is this Duan Lingtian really only a martial cultivator on the intermediate mortal shedding stage? How can a mere martial cultivator on the intermediate mortal shedding stage be so powerful? If I hadn't broken through to the paramount mortal shedding stage, I'm afraid I wouldn't even be able to take a punch from him. Su Qi was so emotional that he could not calm down for a long time. He was completely shocked by Duan Lingtian's ability. Under the premise that both of them did not use any saint weapons or saint-grade martial tactic, his punch that he did not hold back only managed to gain a slight advantage. One must know he was a martial cultivator on the paramount mortal shedding stage. However, the person standing in front of him was only a mere martial cultivator on the intermediate mortal shedding stage. Duan Lingtian, I heard you have a bow that's as powerful as a human rank prominent saint weapon. Take it out. Use the saint-grade martial tactic. Let's fight with all our might. A narrow saber suddenly appeared in Su Qi's hand. It was the saint weapon that he always carried around with him. As the disciple of the city governor of Mound Hill City, it was only natural that he would not be shabby. His saint weapon, the narrow saber, was also a human rank prominent saint weapon. Light swirled around it like a bright moon. Of course. Duan Lingtian also took out his sun shooting bow immediately. With the sun shooting bow in hand, Duan Lingtian's aura changed completely. He was like a ferocious tiger that bared its fangs. Come on. Su Qi's eyes narrowed. The narrow saber pierced through the air. Layers of blue waves seemed to appear in the air as it passed by, pushing and blasting toward Duan Lingtian. The saber seemed simple, but it contained an extremely terrifying power. If this saber is a move from a human rank mediocre saint-grade martial tactic, then it must have been cultivated to the 5th stage, the impeccable refinement. At that moment, Duan Lingtian could see the extraordinariness of Su Qi's saber move. It was simple and clean. It seemed to be able to destroy the void. A move from a human rank mediocre saint-grade martial tactic that had been cultivated to the 5th stage, the impeccable refinement, was so powerful that it was comparable to the aerolite strike that Duan Lingtian had mastered. Although the aerolite strike had only been cultivated to the 3rd stage, the competent stage, as a move from a human rank prominent saint-grade martial tactic, not only was it more difficult to cultivate, but it was also more powerful. Body and arrow synchronization. Faced with Su Qi's preemptive saber move, Duan Lingtian did not dare to be careless. He shot an arrow through the air. It was as though he was riding a bird as he soared rapidly in the air. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. However, Su Qi was not someone to be trifled with. Faced with Duan Lingtian who had dodged his attack, he quickly chased after him. The saber ray that shone from the saber in his hand even split into three. It was impossible to tell if it was real or fake. Each saber contained an extremely sharp aura. Ha! Just as Su Qi smirked, thinking that he could suppress Duan Lingtian with these three saber moves, he noticed that Duan Lingtian had suddenly come to a halt. He was staring blankly at the sky in the distance. What are you doing? Su Qi's expression changed drastically. His expression was extremely grave as he withdrew his saber force. Was Duan Lingtian trying to lose to him on purpose? This made him feel extremely humiliated. However, Duan Lingtian did not pay any attention to Su Qi. This was because he could see a figure charging toward the city governor's estate at a terrifying speed through the strange pupil. He's coming with ill intentions. Duan Lingtian's heart skipped a beat for no reason. He could smell danger. The second person who noticed that something was amiss was the city governor of Mound Hill City. However, by the time he reacted, the figure had already appeared above the city governor's mansion and arrived above Duan Lingtian and the others. Trespassing on the city governor's mansion is a capital offense. At this moment, two figures rose into the sky from both sides of the mansion. They charged toward the intruders like two bolts of lightning. Be careful. The city governor of Mound Hill City had a drastic change of expression. In the next moment, the expressions of Duan Lingtian and the others changed as well. Chapter 14-18. They're dead. Duan Lingtian gasped when he saw the two bodies on the ground. One of them was no stranger to him. He was the leader of the 36 guardians of the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City, the Heavenly Leader Guardian. He was also one of the few Saint Rudiment stage powerhouses in Mound Hill City. The other person was an old man. Although he did not know him, he knew he was a Saint Rudiment stage powerhouse. The fact that he could fly in Mound Hill City was enough to prove his cultivation base. However, these two Saint Rudiment stage powerhouses were instantly killed by this newcomer in just a single blow. When Duan Lingtian looked at the newcomer again, his eyes were filled with dread. At the same time, he also saw the newcomer clearly. It was a handsome young man dressed in a white robe with silver trimmings. However, there was a hint of disdain at the corner of his mouth as he looked down at them condescendingly. Gasp, 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 gasp. Su Qi, Ling Yun, Jianghu and Jin Yuan Bao regained their senses and gasped. When they looked at the white-robed young man again, they were filled with dread as well. The two Saint Rudiment stage powerhouses from the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City were not even a match for this person. Just how strong was this person's strength? They did not even see any trace of his attack earlier. It was as though a powerful force had appeared out of thin air and suppressed and killed the two Saint Rudiment stage powerhouses. Naturally, they knew that things were not that simple. He must have made a move. However, since their cultivation base was too low, they could not see any trace of his attack. Zhou Qi. At this moment, a thunderous roar snapped Duan Lingtian and the other four back to their senses. Then they saw it. The city governor of Mound Hill City had a ferocious look on his face as he stomped on the ground and flew up with a bang. The ground where he was standing earlier had cracks that looked like a spider web. The cracks even extended to the feet of Duan Lingtian and the other three. Before they regained their senses, they realized the city governor of Mound Hill City was already fighting with Zhou Qi. However, the speed of their attacks was so fast that they could not see their movements at all. Even when Duan Lingtian activated his strange pupil, he could only see two afterimages crossing each other. What's that? Suddenly, Duan Lingtian clearly saw that when his teacher and Zhou Qi were fighting with their saint weapons, True Qi had spread out above Zhou Qi's head and turned into a huge hammer. This was a giant hammer that was completely condensed from true energy. Just as Duan Lingtian was wondering why the other party had the mind to spare a portion of his Jinqi to do this, the giant hammer came crashing down on his teacher. At that moment the sky shook. Accompanied by a dull thud, the city governor of Mound Hill City spat out a mouthful of blood and fell from the sky in a wretched state. Teacher. Master. Immediately, Duan Lingtian and the other four moved to catch the falling city governor of Mound Hill City. One could see that the city governor of Mound Hill City's face was as pale as a sheet of paper. Blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth and dripped onto the ground, making a soft sound. True energy condensed weapon, you broke through to the Saint Realm Mastery stage? The city governor of Mound Hill City looked at Zhou Qi with fear in his eyes. Saint Realm Mastery Stage? The city governor of Mound Hill City's words stunned Duanling Tian and the other four. This white-clad young man, Zhou Qi, was actually a powerful person at the Saint Realm Mastery Stage? Feng Hui, you're still the same as last time. You haven't improved at all. It seems like you'll only be like this for the rest of your life. Zhou Qi looked down at the city governor of Mound Hill City. His eyes gleamed with condescension and blatant disdain. You. Zhou Qi had severely injured the city governor of Mound Hill City and even humiliated him. This caused Duanling Tian and the other four to turn pale. Although they knew the other party was powerful, they could not bear it. The city governor of Mound Hill City was their respected teacher and master. Just as Duanling Tian and the other four were about to attack, the city governor of Mound Hill City, Feng Hui, stopped them anxiously. You're no match for him. Feng Hui, why are you stopping them? Are you afraid that I'll kill them? Zhou Qi laughed. It was a mocking laugh. Zhou Qi, did you come here just to show off your prowess? If that's the case, you can leave now. You've achieved your goal. Feng Hui took a deep breath and suppressed the shame and anger in his heart as he said in a deep voice. In terms of seniority, I should call you junior uncle. However, based on the difference between our cultivation bases, I think you'll be embarrassed if I call you junior uncle. The smile on Zhou Qi's face grew wider as he insulted Feng Hui to his heart's content. Junior uncle? Duanling Tian and the other four were stunned when they heard Zhou Qi's words. What? Are you surprised? Zhou Qi smiled when he saw the expression on Duanling Tian and the other four's faces. Your master is my master's junior brother? However, compared to my master, your master is much more useless. He's already so old, but he's still an outer court deacon who's sent to manage this small Mound Hill city. Intermediate Saint Rudiment stage. My good junior uncle, if I remember correctly, you were at the intermediate Saint Rudiment stage when I first met you 10 years ago, and I was only at the paramount mortal shedding stage. Now, I've broken through to the Mastery Saint Rudiment stage, but you're still at the Intermediate Saint Rudiment stage. The contempt in Zhou Qi's eyes grew as he spoke. Are you here to humiliate me? Feng Hui asked in a deep voice as he stared at Zhou Qi with a piercing gaze. There was an extremely cold gleam in his eyes. If it was not for the fact that he was severely injured and had lost the ability to fight, Feng Hui would have attacked again. A warrior would rather be killed than humiliated. However, Zhou Qi completely ignored his gaze and said indifferently, I heard that martial uncle Feng Hui has a disciple who came from the mortal continent. He's quite impressive. I think his name is Su Qi? May I know who he is? Zhou Qi asked curiously as he glanced at Duanling Tian and the other four. Upon hearing Zhou Qi's words, Duanling Tian and the other four could not help but look at Su Qi. This Zhou Qi who came with ill intentions was actually looking for Su Qi? What was going on? Su Qi snorted coldly. His eyes were filled with hostility when he looked at Zhou Qi. After confirming Su Qi's identity, Zhou Qi looked at him immediately. You're Su Qi? Not bad, you're good looking. No wonder Master likes you so much. When Zhou Qi reached the end of his sentence, he nodded in satisfaction. The moment Zhou Qi's words left his mouth, Duanling Tian and the other three were stunned. Based on Zhou Qi's words, it seemed like he was here to poach him? Zhou Qi, what do you mean by that? Feng Hui asked with a grave expression. However, Zhou Qi ignored Feng Hui directly and looked at Su Qi with a smile. Su Qi, I, Zhou Qi, am the direct disciple of Elder Lu Huan of the Moon Illumination sect. My master, Elder Lu Huan, intends to take you in as his direct disciple so that you can enter the inner court of the sect directly and become an inner court disciple. You'll be able to enjoy a rich cultivation environment and cultivation resources. Moon Illumination sect. Inner court disciple. The moment Zhou Qi's words left his mouth, it was no different from a stone that caused 1,000 ripples. It shocked Duanling Tian and the other four. They would be heading to the Moon Illumination sect to participate in the entrance assessment in 5 months. For this reason, Duanling Tian and the other four knew a little about the Moon Illumination sect's rules. Those who had just passed the entrance assessment and entered the Moon Illumination sect were only outer court disciples of the sect. To become an inner court disciple of the Moon Illumination sect, one must pass a certain test. It was said that one must have a cultivation base at the early Saint Rudiment stage at the very least. Naturally, there were exceptions. It was said that some young geniuses who were chosen by the Moon Illumination sect's high-ranking officials could directly enter the inner court and become inner court disciples regardless of their cultivation base as long as they were recommended by the Moon Illumination sect's high-ranking officials. Naturally, it had to be the Moon Illumination sect's high-ranking officials who had real power. For example, an outer court deacon like Fang Hui, the city governor of Mound Hill City, who was sent out, although he was considered a high-ranking official in the Moon Illumination sect to a certain extent, he did not have any status in the sect, let alone real power. In the Moon Illumination sect, his status was even lower than many of the inner court disciples. However, Zhou Qi had just said that his master, Elder Lu Huan, intended to take Su Qi in as his direct disciple. Moreover, he would allow Su Qi to enter the inner court of the Moon Illumination sect directly. Duan Lingtian, Ling Yun, Xionghu and Jin Yuan Bao immediately looked at Su Qi. All of them wanted to know what he would choose. Would he betray the sect and join another sect? Or would he reject the offer? However, if he rejected the offer, it would not end well for him. Based on the fact that Zhou Qi had killed two Saint Rudiment stage powerhouses as soon as he arrived at the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City, it was easy to tell that Zhou Qi was not a kind person. Did that scoundrel Lu Huan send you here? Fang Hui asked through gritted teeth. His eyes were wide open as his body began to tremble violently. He was so angry that he was on the verge of breaking down. Slap. A crisp sound rang out. It was Zhou Qi who had struck at lightning speed and slapped Fang Hui, leaving a clear palm print on half of Fang Hui's face. Master. Horror dawned on Duan Lingtian. He immediately raised the sun-shooting bow in his hand. True energy shot out of his right hand and consolidated into an arrow. He wanted to attack Zhou Qi with the arrow light strike. At this moment, he did not have the time to think about whether he was a match for Zhou Qi or not. He had long regarded Fang Hui as his master. As his disciple, he could not just stand by and watch his master being humiliated. However, as soon as he knocked the arrow on the bowstring and before he could pull the string, a cold snort resonated in his ears. The sound contained a terrifying sound wave that caused his body to tremble. Before Duan Lingtian could even react, he felt a huge force attack him, and it fiercely slapped his body, blasting him away. Barf. Duan Lingtian felt something sweet in his throat when he fell heavily on the ground. He then opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. At the same time, Duan Lingtian heard three people spitting out blood beside him. He noticed that Ling Yun, Xionghu and Jin Yuan Bao were sent flying with him. They were holding saint weapons in their hands. It was obvious that they wanted to avenge Fang Hui just like him. How dare four little ants act so presumptuously in front of me, Zhou Qi? Zhou Qi did not seem to have done anything. He appeared in front of Duan Lingtian and the other three in just a blink of an eye. He looked down at Duan Lingtian and the other three with his nose in the air. Oh no! Chapter 14-19. How shabby. I'm afraid such a lousy bow isn't even a human-rank primitive saint weapon. It seems like Fang Hui doesn't think highly of you. Zhou Qi sneered as he looked at the sun-shooting bow in Duan Lingtian's hand. Zhou Qi glanced at Duan Lingtian in disdain as he sneered. He did not bother with Duan Lingtian and the other two anymore. He turned around and looked at Su Qi. Su Qi, what do you think? Duan Lingtian sighed in relief inwardly. At that moment, he thought Zhou Qi had seen how extraordinary the sun-shooting bow in his hand was and wanted to snatch it away. At that moment, his heart also hung in the air. It was only now that he felt relieved. It was a close call. A Mastery Saint Rudiment stage martial cultivator is actually so powerful? I feel like a child in front of him. I don't even have the strength to fight back. Even if I activate my strange pupil, I'm still no match for him. Duan Lingtian's heart was filled with bitterness. Zhou Qi was definitely the most powerful opponent he had ever encountered in his life. However, Duan Lingtian quickly shifted his gaze to Su Qi. Apart from him, even Xionghu, Jin Yuan Bao, and Fang Hui, the city governor of Mound Hill City, were looking at Su Qi. All of them wanted to know what choice he would make. Su Qi, a wise man, submits to circumstances. I believe you're a smart man. Zhou Qi seemed to have noticed Su Qi's hesitation, so he continued to say, moreover, water flows to the lower places while people walk to the higher places. This is the truth no matter where you go. You're destined to have no future if you follow Fang Hui. Fang Hui's cultivation base is even lower than mine, let alone my master, Elder Lu Huan. My master, Elder Lu Huan, is at the Paramount Saint Rudiment stage. He's only half a step away from the Saint stage. Zhou Qi finished his sentence in one breath. Paramount Saint Rudiment Stage. The moment Zhou Qi's words left his mouth, Duan Lingtian, Jianghu and Jin Yuan Bao were shocked. They did not expect Zhou Qi's master to be at the Paramount Saint Rudiment Stage. An elder with such strength must have a high position even in the Moon Illumination sect. Although the Moon Illumination sect was a seventh-rate force, there were only a few Saint-stage powerhouses in the sect. Zhou Qi's master, Lu Huan, could be considered to be in the second echelon of the Moon Illumination sect. The first echelon was none other than the few Saint-stage powerhouses from the Moon Illumination sect. I agree. Su Qi finally made up his mind. Ah, good. From now on I'll call you junior brother Su Qi. Zhou Qi immediately laughed out loud when he heard Su Qi's reply. His laughter was filled with joy. Junior brother Su Qi, congratulations. You've made the best choice. Senior brother Zhou Qi. Su Qi bowed respectfully at Zhou Qi. Su Qi, you ungrateful bastard. Jianghu was enraged when he saw that Su Qi had actually agreed to it. Hearing that, the smile on Zhou Qi's face immediately disappeared. He looked at Jianghu with a murderous look in his eyes, and the true energy on his body was faintly discernible. He's just an ant. Why do you have to care about him, senior brother Zhou Qi? Su Qi glanced at Jianghu indifferently and said to Zhou Qi with a smile. That's right. He's just an ant. Zhou Qi smiled as well. When Jianghu heard Su Qi's words, he became even more enraged. He still wanted to say something, but Jin Yuan Bao, who was standing next to him, covered his mouth. Jianghu, if you're seeking death, don't drag us down with you. Jin Yuan Bao glared at Jianghu and shouted in a deep voice. Duanling Tian looked at Su Qi with a slightly gloomy expression. He knew very well how much his master, the city governor of Mound Hill City, loved Su Qi. For Su Qi's sake, his master had even secretly asked him not to spar with Su Qi. Yet now Su Qi had actually betrayed his master. For a moment, Duanling Tian only felt that his heart was filled with rage that was about to burst out. Senior brother Zhou Qi, let's return to the sect. I'd like to go back and meet master as soon as possible, Su Qi said to Zhou Qi. Su Qi said to Zhou Qi. His tone was respectful and Zhou Qi enjoyed it. There's no hurry. Zhou Qi shook his head and smiled. Then he looked at Fang Hui, the city governor of Mound Hill City. At this moment, Fang Hui was looking at Su Qi in disbelief. It was as though he did not expect Su Qi to betray him. A hint of anger could be seen on his face. However, his anger soon disappeared. He sighed as though he had aged a few years in an instant. Fang Hui, if I were you, I would have killed myself a long time ago. Zhou Qi glanced at Fang Hui coldly and said mockingly, it's one thing if you have poor innate talent, but you can't even protect your own woman. Now the disciple you've trained wholeheartedly has betrayed you. Every word Zhou Qi said was heart-wrenching. After he finished speaking, Fang Hui was so angry that his body trembled violently. His eyes were bulging and he could not help but spit out a few mouthfuls of blood. He looked extremely wretched. However, I still have to thank you on behalf of my master, your senior brother, Elder Lu Huan. Thank you for finding such an outstanding disciple for him. Zhou Qi continued. Fang Hui was so angry that he rolled his eyes and fainted. Trash. Zhou Qi spat before he looked at Su Qi and said with a smile, Junior brother Su Qi, let's go. We'll go back to the sect to meet master and perform the ceremony. I'll listen to senior brother Zhou Qi's arrangement. Su Qi glanced at Fang Hui, who had fainted unwillingly, before he looked at Zhou Qi and said respectfully, let's go. Zhou Qi shouted in a deep voice. He lifted his arm and grabbed Su Qi's shoulder. He flew away with Su Qi and disappeared into the horizon in just a blink of an eye, returning to the Moon Illumination sect. Master City Governor. Big Brother. Elder Huang. Not long after Zhou Qi left, people came one after another. They were the members of the 36 guardians of the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City and some revered elders. As for the servants and maids who came after hearing the news, they were blocked outside. After all, it was not something to be proud of. At this moment, the medicinal effect of the healing medicinal pill gradually took effect. Duanling Tian, Jianghu and Jin Yuan Bao could finally stand up. After they stood up, they immediately ran to Fang Hui, who was unconscious. The three of them had a worried expression on their faces. What's going on? More than 10 people from the 36 guardians and a few revered elders came. All of them looked grave as they questioned Duanling Tian and the other two. They rushed over when they heard the commotion. As soon as they entered the courtyard, they saw the city governor of Mound Hill City, the heavenly leader guardian, and a revered elder lying on the ground. This scene scared them to the point their souls almost flew out of their bodies. In fact, the three of them who were lying on the ground were all at the St. Rudiment stage. The city governor of Mound Hill City, especially, was at the intermediate St. Rudiment stage. He was only a step away from breaking through to the Mastery St. Rudiment stage and mastering the True Energy Consolidated Weapon technique. The True Energy Consolidated Weapon was a technique that could only be mastered by a Mastery St. Rudiment stage powerhouse. Consolidating the true energy into a divine weapon phenomenon to attack the enemy by surprise would have a miraculous effect. For example, the technique Zhou Qi used to defeat Fang Hui, the city governor of Mound Hill City, was the True Energy Consolidated Weapon. Consolidating the true energy into a divine weapon phenomenon. His divine weapon phenomenon was a gigantic hammer. When the gigantic hammer fell, it was as though Mount Tai was crashing down. His power was unstoppable. Su Qi, that ingrate. Jianghu gnashed his teeth in hatred. The moment he thought of Su Qi's betrayal, he was filled with rage. Jin Yuan Bao recounted what had happened earlier with a bitter expression on his face. Upon hearing how powerful Zhou Qi was and how powerful the Moon Illumination sect's elder, Lu Huan, was, everyone fell silent. Whether it was the dozens of people from the 36 guardians or the remaining revered elders, the anger on their faces turned into a bitter smile. They knew very well that they would not be able to avenge themselves. Their opponent was an inner court disciple of the seventh-rate force, the Moon Illumination sect, that was above the city governor's estate of Mound Hill City. Put aside the fact that the inner court disciple was more powerful than their city governor. Moreover, the Moon Illumination sect's elder behind the inner court disciple made them unable to resist at all. Soon after, Fang Hui, the city governor of Mound Hill City, regained consciousness. His expression was terrifyingly grave. After consuming a healing medicinal pill and recovering slightly, he ordered, "Bury the heavenly leader guardian and elder Huang properly. Apart from Duan Lingtian, Xionghu, and Jin Yuan Bao, the rest of you are dismissed." Following Fang Hui's order, only 4 people were left in the huge mansion. "I'm sure all of you have a lot of questions, right?" Fang Hui sighed. Duan Lingtian and the other 2 nodded. Indeed, they had questions in their minds. Based on Zhou Qi's tone, he seemed to be picking on Fang Hui as though he had a death feud with Fang Hui. "Do all of you see anything?" Fang Hui asked again. "Master, Zhou Qi must have a feud with you, right?" Jin Yuan Bao asked. "Zhou Qi." Fang Hui shook his head before a cold gleam flashed in his eyes. "I have no feud with Zhou Qi. He's just a dog that Lu Huan raised to bite people everywhere. Lu Huan is the one who has a feud with me." Lu Huan. Before Zhou Qi's arrival, Duan Lingtian and the other 2 did not know who the owner of this name was even if they heard it. However, after Zhou Qi's arrival, they knew who he was. Lu Huan was an elder of the Moon Illumination sect. His cultivation base was so powerful that he had even entered the Paramount St. Rudiment stage. "Master, Lu Huan is at the Paramount St. Rudiment stage. Why do you have a feud with him?" Xionghu asked. "I'll have to start from when I was young," Fang Hui said slowly. Fang Hui slowly told Duan Lingtian and the other 2 about the things that happened when he was young. As it turned out, Fang Hui and Lu Huan had entered the Moon Illumination sect in the same year. In the beginning, both of them minded their own business, but in the end, they would not rest until one of them died. As for the reason for this, it was because of Fang Hui's wife. Fang Hui's wife had entered the Moon Illumination sect a few years later. Both Fang Hui and Lu Huan had taken a liking to her. In the end, Fang Hui had married the beauty. At that time, Lu Huan, who had already become an inner court disciple, took advantage of the fact that he had been taken in as a disciple by an elder in the sect. He was so bold that he kidnapped Fang Hui's wife on their wedding night. After Fang Hui's wife was defiled by him, she chose to commit suicide. Since then, Fang Hui and Lu Huan had a death feud. They would not rest until one of them was dead. However, Fang Hui's innate talent was not as good as Lu Huan's, and his backer was not as good as Lu Huan's. In his despair, the heart demon grew in him, causing his cultivation base to progress slowly. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.